This is S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to S4, where we talk about the real issues involving paranormal and current events, coming to you live from the S4 headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains of Washington State. We also cover topics of disaster and terrorist response and preparation and veterans issues as appropriate. So tonight it is the 10th of May, Mother's Day. So we give a big shout out to all our mothers who listen to S4. Tonight we have Rosella C. Rowe with us. She is the author of Paranormal 911 and soon an upcoming book we'll let her talk about. She is also the investigator behind Haunted Tours of Ireland and runs My Haunted Travels blog. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great show. So Cole, talk about the May giveaways real quick.
All right, so during the month of May, we are doing our great giveaways. We've got some paranormal gear for you. Different things from S4, including stickers, hat, or a mug, some wristbands. It's pretty cool stuff. So make sure you email us at s4radiowinner.com or at gmail.com. Blah. And if you look at the chat room, it's in there. Also, look for it on our Facebook page and our Twitter page. It is on both of those, so you can find it there as well. And all you got to do is share with us a paranormal story and get your name in there, and make sure you like our Facebook page, and you are entered to win.
Excellent. So tonight with us we have Cole and Kayla and Rosella C. Rowe. How you doing, Rosella?
Fine. How are you guys?
Perfect.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me on.
So is it blizzarding?
Oh, is it blizzard?
Yeah. Is there a blizzard in Ohio yet?
No, actually, my parents have it up in Michigan, but we're good here. You know, it's been snowing there all day, but here it's just been thunderstorms, like really horrible winds and raining.
Those are coming here soon. So for our listeners, you will hear a fan in the background because it is 91 degrees in Washington State. That's unprecedented for, well, this early in the year. Oh, so let's get started. So, Rosella, what got you into the paranormal?
Okay, well, when I was a child, I lived in a haunted house. And that is what my book is about. That is coming out June 12th, and it's called 2095, based on a true story. And basically, I grew up in a haunted house that I saw a lot of serious things. I saw, like, doorknobs turning right in front of you, and there was no one there on the other side. You heard footsteps in the hallway. All the time. Like, it didn't matter if it was day or night. You always heard it. Especially if my door was closed, it actually got worse. Then I saw, like, deadlocks open right in front of my eyes. Every Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the morning, that would happen. When I was 17, that started. Mimicking sounds of keys, because my mother would come home and put keys down. And the ghost figured that out, that the children come running out of their rooms to see Mom when that happens. So it would mimic the key sound starting at 9 o'clock every single night on the hour. I saw doppelgangers, and I actually saw the woman who did live in my house. She showed herself to me one time. She committed suicide 23 days after moving out of the house, and she did not ever want to leave the house. Her husband got transferred, And she killed herself 23 days after moving out of my house in her new house, hanging herself in her attic. So it was pretty frightening, but I did not know any of this. I heard rumors that the house was called in my book, it's to save basically privacy for her name. I called it the Walter house. But it basically all my life I was called like, you live in that house. And so I never really knew what that meant until I got older and then started seeing things and hearing things in the house. But when I was 13 years old, I was I was making jewelry. Basically, I kind of call it beading, but I was putting stringy beads, basically making a necklace in front of the TV on the floor, taking care of my little brother who was 2 years old behind me. He was on the couch behind me while we kind of watched TV reruns and stuff like that. It was 4 o'clock on just a weekday, and my mother worked like 3 jobs to put food on the table, so I watched him a lot. But he started screaming at the top of his lungs, just like he was being murdered or something. I mean, he was a child who never yelled. Even as a baby, he never screamed or cried, hardly at all. So it was really, something was really frightening him, really scaring him to death. So I turned around and I said, Alex, like, what's wrong? And then I just saw the look of terror on his face. I stood up, and we kind of had this window that you look through, like those kind of peekaboo windows that was cut out from the family room into the kitchen that you could see into the kitchen. And I saw a woman standing there. She was making actually peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because I had left out all of the stuff on the counter. I was going to make it for my brother. And, I'm a kid. I'm 13. I forgot. So I just walked away and left it there out. And she was picking them up. They were physically in her hand. And she was putting peanut butter and jelly, like separate ones. I saw her moving, and she did actually physically put the peanut butter and the jam on the bread. She never put the halves of bread together to make the sandwich, but she did actually put the stuff on later when I checked. But yeah, I saw her smiling at me and making the sandwiches, just really smiling and away. And she was really short. She had brown hair, like very permed. It was like 1980 when she lived in the house. And this was probably like 1993. So she had like blue eyeshadow, blue eyeliner, and really crimson red lipstick. I could still see her. And I was just terrified. But at my point, I was not thinking this is a ghost. I was thinking this is a burglar. Someone's in my house, because she looked like I could reach out and touch her, like a real human being. So I looked back at my brother, who was still screaming, and then I saw around, because basically the fireplace was in the way of that little kind of peekaboo section, that cutout, and around the bend I could see the kitchen, and the lights were flicking on and off, and then I started to hear the garbage disposal going on and off, and then when I looked through the window, she was gone. So I ran into the kitchen, and I put my hand basically on the switches, because I figured that must be what was scaring my brother. So I just thought my instinct is to stop it and then try to find this woman who was in my house. And basically I took my hand and I put it over the switches, and I could feel the switches moving underneath my palm. And it physically hurt. They were moving so fast, and it wouldn't stop. It was just such a huge physical force. And then I had to take my other hand and put my other palm on top of that palm, and put all my weight on top of lean my weight on top of it into the switch to get it to stop. And eventually it stopped, and then my brother stopped screaming from the couch. At that point, I just thought, I'm going to go see who's in the house. So I grabbed this huge knife, put my brother on my hip. I made our dog, our collie, whose name is Gypsy, actually follow us through the house, trying to look for this woman who I never found. So I was very confused, and when I tried to talk to my mother about it, we're extreme Catholic back then, she would not listen to me. She always thought, because I used to write even as a child, I wrote my first book actually when I was 10 years old, one summer, a whole huge novel. So she thought, oh, you're just you're always saying these things and inventing these stories, and she wouldn't believe me about it. I think that she didn't really also want to face it as a single parent. She was like, no, I can't deal with this. I got so much going on to do this. But I wanted her to get a priest in there because I just kept having feelings of presence, like a presence in the room, especially the family room area. And then it just got increasingly worse as it went on. As I grew up, it just got stronger and stronger. And it wouldn't be afraid if somebody else was around to kind of do something to get attention. Like, I'm here. So
Right.
friends did not want to spend the night.
No.
No.
So did you eat the peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Somebody else asked me that too. Yeah, actually, it's funny. I think that I did give it to my brother. I was probably too freaked out. I think I didn't eat for probably a few days. It's just scared.
So
yeah.
I would personally see that as a positive experience. I mean, albeit, a burglar made you a sandwich. In your opinion on that one, and so I've had spirits. I had a spirit make me coffee one time. That was interesting.
Oh, wow!
I lived in an apartment that pennies would drop from nowhere and land on the floor. So not all hauntings are necessarily negative. It does sound like you had more than one. You had something. You had other things going on besides this woman. From the sounds of it, though.
Well, later in life, I moved into another house. Bought my first house with my husband, and didn't have a kind of because I started to understand and learn the feelings of a presence. It kind of, to me, it felt like eyes watching you, and you can't see who it is or where it is, but you just felt like you were being watched. And we walked into the house. We spent a lot of time there. I never felt a thing. And then we actually spent 3 days there, me actually more alone because my husband started his new job and I had to wait for the furniture truck to come. Never felt a thing. When all the furniture arrived, all of a sudden I felt it. And it just felt like it was like a 72-year-old man watching over me when we were unpacking the dishes. And my mother and brother came to help us unload the stuff, and then my husband went to the store. Everybody kind of just left at the same time kind of deal, and it was me left in the house doing the dishes. And I just turned and I said, "Who are you? What are you doing here? Come on." I was so mad. I was so ticked off. And we had a lot of experiences there. Mainly I did. My husband always heard a woman telling him to vacuum, so I loved her, but never heard her. I'm like, yes, tell him to vacuum, tell him to clean. Never heard her, though, but the men who would come and stay in the house for a long period of time, especially my brother, he would hear it. So it's kind of interesting, but I never heard my name being called or anything like that. Just very ornery things kind of would happen. If I would make a salad, it loved to play with, my tomatoes. It would smear the tomatoes over especially my trash can or my microwave that was near the trash can.
That would become annoying.
Yeah, that was really gross. One time we had a contractor who was putting on a sunroom, and they were there for 4 months, going in and out, especially at lunchtime. And this guy came in, and he was talking to me, and then the doorbell rang, and so he went back out into the sun porch then area, closed the door, came back in after I came back into the kitchen after the doorbell, and he was like, "What the heck happened?" There was tomatoes everywhere, just all over the floor, all over the trash can, and on the microwave, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's the friend, it's the ghost," and he's not very nice, but he was a protective spirit,
right.
But he just loved attention. The microwave would always say, what would it say? I think it would say 12:53 or 12:54 all the time, and we couldn't figure out what that ever meant. It was really strange. My husband and I would have fights over who would put that, leave it on the microwave, to just get rid of it and clear the microwave off. And toys would fly across the room, hurling themselves, probably 4 feet off the ground, but 6 feet, through the air, going pretty far distance. So, and then I felt like kind of like a cobweb thing one time. It was kind of like someone touched me as I was walking by with their hand, the palm of their hand, and just like kind of pulled it over from my forehead down my back. It was scary. That was scary. That was the first physical touch I ever had. But then after that, it got really aggressive when I put the house up for sale. It started holding my feet down in bed. If I was lying there in bed watching TV, reading a book, it would just be holding my feet down, so I felt like paralyzed. I couldn't move. So it was kind of scary with that regard. But it watched over the children very well. And if the children were sick, like I would feel it pacing back and forth in like their nursery room, to a point where I freaked out one time and I'm like, you've got to stop it. I'm already scared and worried. Stop. And then it stopped. But it would wake me up if they had high temperatures. And 2 times, separate times, my children had ear infections when they were babies. And if it did not wake me up, it kind of felt like a hovering over my bed, hovering over me. And if it didn't wake me up like that, they probably would not have made it through the night. Their temperatures were like 104, 105. So we went to the hospital, emergency room.
Have you ever explored the 1254?
I have one time. I've not like really looked things up, but I've asked so many people, like even priests, thinking like if it was some kind of demonic thing or some kind of omen. Then one day I was watching a TV show, and somehow it came up after 15 years of this stuff, and somebody had said it was no one knew what it really meant, but it was some kind of omen sign, and now I even forget what it is.
I would take the omens and stuff. I would say it may even be as simple as if you look up the history to see if anyone had died there, if they died at 1254.
Oh, nobody had ever died. No, I looked up the history. And I've lived here my whole life, and I'm in Troy, Ohio. So I've lived here my whole life, and I know that land was forest. There was a rumor that was Indian mounds a long time ago, but that's already been debunked. But, yeah, it's kind of, I would talk to my neighbors about it all the time. This older man who had built his house and watched my house be built, and he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he looked at me all the time like I was crazy. But I'm like, somebody has to tell me what this is. The funny thing is, I had a dream after we moved out of the house that the spirit had been killed on a motorcycle and drifted into my house because somebody in the dream had said that I was sensitive. And I knew it was there for attention, kind of thing. I don't know if that's true or not, but I kind of never forget that.
That's common. That really is common. A lot of times spirits only want attention. They only want you to say, hi, I recognize you. And a lot of times they'll leave. What irritates me the most is when they automatically say, oh, it's got to be a demon. No. Demons are really rare. Demons are extremely rare.
And people ask me that too all the time with my ghost hunting, and I'm like, I have never run into anything that was really bad, but one time something yelled at me, but I had gotten warned it was evil on that floor too, kind of like not really like a nice spirit. So I was prepared. I knew what it was.
I think the biggest misconception is people need to understand, if you were an asshole when you were alive, you're going to be an asshole as a spirit. So not all negativity is demonic or even a negative or malevolent entity. Oftentimes, it is a spirit.
Yeah, and I did see it once, so I forgot this story. I've seen so much in my life, really, but so I took my daughter home. 3 days after she was born, we came home, and my husband, he had to go to work. He went to go get his computer or something, so he was gone. And I was folding laundry in the nursery. Well, we kind of have like just a little area where you're coming up the stairs and all the rooms split off. So it's really not like much of a hallway, but just like, a break off of all the rooms. But I was folding the laundry, putting it into the dressers and, putting the baby room stuff away. My daughter came really early, so I didn't have much time to do that. So while she slept across the hall in my room, in her little like area thing. I forget what, now I'm thinking, okay, bassinet, now I remembered. the name. But so she was like totally in another place. But I just happened to look outside the door to the stairs, feeling a presence, thinking my husband must be home. And I saw a black shadow man just like on the stairs. Like I can still see like his leg, kind of like how you're going to go onto the next stair, but you don't, and you're just looking. He just like stopped and looked at me in that position, and then he saw me see him, and then just got like, he shook like in disbelief of like, oh my God, like she sees me, she recognizes she sees me. And then it turned and then ran down the stairs. So I ran out of the room, we had a little banister of the stairs, ran over to the banister and looked down and watched it dissipate down the stairs until it was just gone. Mm-hmm. So I came up with, over, of course, the years, we lived there for 12 years, that basically my husband and I always thought that it kind of resided on the stairs, like on stair 4 going up the stairs. Mm-hmm. If it got mad, it would always bang on the stairs, like boom, 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 and the walls would shake, the stairs would shake. It was just showing you that it was mad. But my daughter, the reason we moved out was my daughter was really having bad experiences with it. So she was kind of, children test the limits. And she was 7, and she was, saying something to me, and I said no. Well, I knew kind of like take an inch, take a mile. So I just was like, I'm not going to let you, win. And she ran into the hallway, and I said, don't run into the hallway because And it's like without saying it, we all just knew why she couldn't go into the hallway. And my 4-year-old son jumped off the bed because I was folding laundry on the bed. They were watching a little show. I folded laundry when she kind of started picking this fight with me. And he jumped off the bed, ran to her and said, don't go in the hallway. You know the ghost is there. He's going to get mad. And then I thought, oh, no. And the house was already up for sale, so it was already very agitated. But she ran into the hallway, and she started saying no back to me. And then it started. It banged on the wall so hard that all the pictures, because we have like our wedding pictures lining the walls, we did have them, and all the pictures were almost about to fall off because it was banging so hard on the walls and the stairs. It was so mad at her for saying no to me. It didn't like the children disrespecting me. So she ran into her room and she wouldn't come out for like 2 days. She was terrified to go down the stairs or up the stairs. So we had to leave. We've been here in this new house for 2 years, and they still are telling me, I heard bangs on the doors, I heard this, and I'm like, guys, we're okay, the house is clean, it's fine.
Right. And that's, sometimes spirits will follow, but
right.
Usually not. Usually they're stuck to the same place. And I've said it on the show before, I like to use the movie The Others, the perfect example of how spirits are. They don't know they're dead half the time. You're the one intruding in their home.
Yeah, it's like that, right? Mm-hmm. Right, and that's what it was with like Julia Walters in the other house in my book 2095. She wanted to be there, and as a child, I thought she's stuck. I have to get a priest in here to try to get her to heaven. Is what my goal was, but my mother would never do it. So, but I think that they do feel like they want to be there. But basically, later on in life, I started writing the story of it for therapeutic reasons. Every not Halloween, but every Thanksgiving, every Christmas Eve, any kind of big family kind of date, I would be out there in my car crying in front of the house every single time, every year, since college basically, and being here, I have to pass the house all the time to get anywhere in my town. So I still pass it 5 times a day. So it was just really hard knowing it was right there and always feeling like I could have and should have done something to help her, and I just could not because of my parent not wanting to listen to me about it. Well, one day I was going through this, I went to a conference, and my friend just kind of on the whim invited me to. I'm walking down looking at all the stuff and kind of, just shopping around, waiting for my friend who went to see someone. And out of nowhere, this woman just puts her hand on my shoulder and she says, Julia wants me to thank you for telling her story. And I'm like, what? Well, in my bag, I didn't tell anybody, but there was a publisher who said like they were supposed to be there and they ended up not being there because they got sick. But I had my half of my manuscript that I had written. And she told me that she knew it was in my bag and she wanted me to know this spirit was set free because I was writing her story so other people wouldn't do what she did. And that I had set her free, and she had been with me ever since I moved, basically, from the house, and she was my spirit guide. I just felt really relieved. I was crying, like just, oh my God, because I always felt so much guilt. So now it's nice to kind of go past the house and say, hey kids, this is where I grew up, and have them understand that it was what I understood and what I was afraid of before as a child it wasn't scary. I was just scared because I didn't understand it. But now that I do, I'm not afraid, and I'm happy to show them the house. So
Nice.
it's a different kind of spin. Yeah, like the book kind of brings you back to God, and I firmly believe that God put us together for a reason, for me to tell her story and have this journey.
So you were you raised Christian?
I think she's
Catholic.
Catholic. Okay. So growing up in this house, I think you kind of hit on it a little bit, but your parents didn't recognize any kind of activity going on?
Well, my mother sometimes would say that she saw some things, or things were really strange, Megan, but we don't need to talk about it. Things like that. On my, one of my birthdays, I was like 24, I think, turning 24, and she finally had said, oh yeah, I saw some things, but I didn't want to scare you, because every time I came home, you would be shaking, and you would be so upset. Because I was terrified of being by myself, and I had to take care of my brother a lot while she worked, and she, probably had no choice. But, she recognizes some things here and there, but she still does not like to talk about it to this day. Yeah. So saying the story, she's like,
And we have Dennis in the chat room. He says the Warrens would have loved your house. Probably, yeah. I would agree. Mm-hmm.
A lot of funny. One time I set the alarm for 3:50 a.m. and then I got up and I just sat on this chair right across from the door, because the front door would open on Wednesday at 4 a.m. precisely. Our dog would get up and she would be half asleep, just walk in front of the door and look at the door and growl. Like, if you tried to interact with her or touch her, she wouldn't even know you existed. And I did it a few times, but I still remember we had deadlocks that you had to have a key to basically unlock from inside. So I remember seeing across the way our foyer was kind of just long, and sitting all the way across from the door where I couldn't even touch it, but seeing them flip themselves open, and the doorknob turned, and then the door just burst open, and the dog, she would bark like somebody was there, like head level, somebody was there, and nobody would ever be there, and then she would take off down the street. My mom would get up and go, not again, and we never, knew why, but it would happen all the time. So things kind of started, when I started recognizing, oh, okay, this is Wednesday, this is happening. Okay, this is Tuesday, this is happening. Oh, it's 9 o'clock, this is happening. I started to get less, fearful. Right. But I did see a lot of stuff and, other things, too, in that house. So it was creepy.
So as a paranormal investigator now, have you ever wanted to go back to that house and actually investigate it?
I think it's one of those things that since I wrote the book, I feel like I want to, a curiosity, yes, but I think that I need to remove myself from ever doing that. I just don't, I feel like the chapter is closed now that I've written the book and I've learned my lesson from what I went through. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's time to move on to the next venture, which is what I started doing. So I go to historical places, and then I investigate. I actually talk to the staff and interview the staff, kind of hear what they say, who's there, why do they think they're there, and ask them as kind of like a reporter questions. I write down everything, and then I go and I have my own ghost investigation as well, based off what they've told me. And then I write about my experiences and what the staff has said, and even put a picture to the entity, to the person who's moved on, that kind of thing. And then I say what I have learned from it and what I've learned from their life, because I think that they all have lessons to tell you, even if it's 100 or some years later. I went to the Golden Lamb here. It's extremely nearing almost 200 years old, and this man had shot himself by accident, and he had died hours later in the same place, and he said that he was stuck there and he did not understand why. And so it's 140 years later, and I'm telling his story. So I just don't want them to be forgotten. I think that we all live and have a reason that we are reason we've lived, reason that we're here, and to tell our story so the living can remember us and learn from us still, even though we're gone.
And that book is $20.95, correct?
The book about where I grew up is $20.95. It's called.
Is that released yet?
June 12th with 7-star books.
Okay, and where can folks find that book?
Well, it'll be available on Amazon soon, and then also my Facebook. I'm going under Rosella C, Rowe, or Rowe, as some people say. I'm going to be putting up links there, and then putting up a website soon. I'm waiting for my cover to come from my publisher, and then I'll be able to do that.
And is Paranormal 911 out yet, or is that the one you're working on as well?
It's actually called Emergency. I'm sorry, 911 Emergency, and that one I'm working on. But my blog, I'm posting one actually May 12th. A new one comes up, and that is my interview with Keith Scales, who is a really famous paranormal author in Arkansas, and he wrote a book basically called 100 Rooms. And it is based off of the hotel. He runs the ghost tours for the most haunted hotel in the country. And that one is the Crescent Hotel. So I've interviewed him. And I have Mike Ricksecker is coming up soon too. So, and then also Mark Spencer. And I will be investigating his house, I hope, in the future in January. And he lives in the Allen house. So a lot of good things to come.
Great. Now, how long have you been publicly investigating the paranormal? Because I know you grew up, and that's what's interesting is, so we run a community group as well, and we've been running the Upriver Community Group since 2014, 2013. And when we first started, anytime we talked about paranormal, it was nothing but ridicule and, oh my God, you're a nutcase kind of attitude. Yeah. And, even today, I was talking to a local, and, he doesn't believe in aliens or the paranormal. And I had to explain to him, I didn't believe in the paranormal either until I was immersed in it. When you have paranormal experiences, it kind of shakes up your reality, your concept of reality.
Right.
So, people don't get it. They don't understand. When you start talking paranormal, if they've never experienced it other than what they see on TV, which is really unfortunate.
Hollywood, usually, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think I always say you're a skeptic until you experience your first thing, your first paranormal experience or event. But I've been having these experiences since, of course, I was I say it started at 13, that I started really noticing, but it probably was before that, and I did not know, because you always chalk it up, my famous thing was, it's the dog. Our family would say it was the dog all the time until we realized that the dog's not even in the house, the dog's at the vet, so it can't be the dog, and then you have to realize. I've been having events since I was probably between 9 and 13, but investigating probably I joined the Tri-C Ghost Hunter group this last year, but I've been investigating for about probably like a year and a half that I've been like fully investigating, like, okay, every other weekend I'm going to go do something, that kind of thing, or once a month. But I always love to go to historical places and then just kind of see what I could, pick up on or anything like that if I felt a presence, or listen to the haunted stories. I actually lived in Charleston for a long time, and I loved that city because anywhere you turn, there was some kind of ghost story,
Now, do you use any tools, technology, like spirit boxes or EVPs, any of that?
I actually use the EMF reader, which I find really to be, I've always found it to be very accurate in answering back questions. And honestly, like the blog that I put up this last week, it's about Poasttown Elementary here in Ohio. It's one of the most haunted schools in Ohio. And I had an hour-and-a-half conversation with a 4-year-old little girl who was unfortunately killed in a horrible train accident in 1910. An hour-and-a-half consistent conversation that when I was leaving, she went over to the EMF reader and like must have put her hand on it or something because it was lit up like crazy and it wouldn't stop. And then my friend had to just kind of take it from me, and she just cut it off, like turned it off. And I'm like, like I felt so bad because I'm like, this is a little girl, But I was talking to her about being a mother and my daughter and like ballet, things like that, because I'm a mother. I think she came to me, she identified with me, and she liked what I was saying. So I use that technique a lot when I'm going into places and I hear that there's like a little child spirit. And I'm like, hey, I'm a mother. These are my children. And I just start talking to them about my children and what they like to do. And they always come out. Then the other one, when I was at the Golden Lamb, I went in, I kind of just put it on the table and I video recorded. And I do have a little, an actual recorder as well, like, tape recorder thing. But I've never gotten anything on it. Usually everything's through my EMF reader where I will just ask a lot of questions. And we talked to him for 45 minutes. So it was me, my brother, and my friend. So I've had consistent conversations with it.
Awesome.
Nice.
So anyone looking for her blog, there you can see, hear about all these investigations that she's done. Go to myhauntedtravelblog.blogspot.com.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at it right now. You got a very nice page here.
Thank you. Yeah, and I have the Ireland trip coming up, which is really exciting. So a lot of things that are going on. I'm going to be taking a trip to Maine this summer, I hope, because of this quarantine stuff. Jeez, I'm like, I got to get out. I'm like a cat in a cage. I need to get investigating again. It's kind of driving me nuts.
Yeah, we were supposed to do 2 Bigfoot investigations already by now.
Yeah, I think that hasn't gone over too well.
So, speaking of Bigfoot, I have a Bigfoot experience, actually.
No way.
We will get to that on the 3rd hour.
Okay.
Oh,
that one's
sure. Put me in suspense.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. So, it sounds like... So, you've done mostly solo work other than the tri-state paranormal team you're on now, right?
Yeah, mostly, my brother will come with me. Or, like, my daughter has gone to some things with me. She's young, but I think that she has, like, some sensitive tendencies like I kind of do. She's seen, like, ghost cats and stuff like that, she has said to me. So, she's interested in things. But mostly my stuff, yeah, like, I go by myself or with my brother or my other friend. She has been doing this for 25 years. She's got a lot of equipment. And she's always like, whenever you come into a room, they just flock to you. Like, I don't get any action when I'm by myself, but when you walk in, boom, they're right there. So, yeah, I've been doing it for a few years, mostly to, like, just, like, writing things. I wrote my first book that I ever wrote was, of course, a murder mystery and haunted mystery when I was, like 10 years old. So, yeah, it's just kind of, like, been my other sixth sense to kind of write about.
Okay. So what's your impression of spirits?
My impression?
Yeah, what do you think are... So, I always like to ask different investigators this, but what do they think spirits are? Are they actually the souls of of passed on humans, or what do you think spirits are?
I mean, I think so. I think that there are people who lived and, like died and are still there because I think that, something tragic's either happened or they want to be. Also, some, like I know, like Mike, my friend, always has dimension, like, beliefs, said that it's different cross between dimensions. I like to think that that could be possible. There are things that I've definitely run across that people say, oh, I'm waiting for a train, and it's like 1942 or something, and I'm waiting for my husband to get off the train, and it's like, what? So it could be possible that there's a cross in time, different dimension kind of thing, where you walk into a dimension for a minute and walk out. It's a possibility. A lot of people have said some different reasons for my haunting experiences. Like I saw my mother as a doppelganger in the house, and Mike told me, he's like, well, maybe she saw your, like, you as a shadow figure, and she got afraid and ran away. But I don't know. So I'm open-minded, that's for sure. I don't think I believe in just one thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, Dennis says he loves ghost cats. Have you ever experienced a ghost cat or a ghost animal?
Oh, yes, yeah. If you read my blog that I just posted, it's freaky. I never had experienced anything like that before, but we were walking down a hallway, and then my friend caught on. She got a new infrared camera, and she was so excited she caught a green, like, emulating, basically orb kind of like shape, but it had a wisp about it. So we didn't see it with our eye, like our naked eye, when we were in there. And we were all there was three of us. It was me, my brother, and then my friend Marcia is her name, and we didn't see it. We walked out of the room, and she rewound it, and she's like, guys, I caught something. So as they were looking at the camera and rewinding the footage and watching it a few times, I, in the meantime, looked up and saw this green, like, self-illuminating cat. But it wasn't like a normal-looking cat. This is the way I can describe it, because it's wild. But it's like when the cat, like a Halloween cat, when it's arched back and it's, like, scared. And it was walking like that with, like, it kind of looked like its fur sticking up, but it was really green, like neon green. And as it walked on its tippy toes. Like, it kind of crossed it went from one side of the hallway to the other, but it didn't go straight across. It kind of walked at an angle on its tippy toes. And then as it saw me see it, it turned and hissed at me. And when it hissed at me, you could see that where it was supposed to have eyes were just black holes. And then it just went into the wall and disappeared. It was wild.
Uh-huh.
It was crazy. But then another instance, my cat's been gone for a long time and never lived in this house. Her name was Aspen. But one night I was just sitting here, like, kind of waiting for my husband to come up for the night and watching TV. And then I felt like, you know how you can feel like the cat jump on the bed?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I felt like that, and then it just kind of walk over and sit down beside me. And then where I kind of put my hand out, there was a hole, like in like a press down kind of impression in the bed. And I just was like, oh, okay, hi. And I've never had it happen again, but that wasn't too long ago. It was probably like a few months ago. And I told my daughter, who did see, she sees this cat, and she says that she sees it at night jump on her dresser, and she says that the cat glows green. And this is before my experience. Like, I mean, she doesn't even know about my experience at the school, because I think that would frighten her, so I didn't tell her. But she told me that the cat just is glowing green, and just turned to her and me out and disappeared into thin air one night. So, I don't know. everybody sees different things.
Yeah, indeed. So, what's your thoughts on animals? Do you think they have spirits like humans do, and that's why we can see them?
I do. I mean, I think that pets will come back because that's their home and that's their owner, and they just miss you.
Mm-hmm.
Firmly believe in it. I mean, actually, my dog, we just had to put her to sleep it's been like a month now, maybe. And for the first 3 nights, I heard her screaming downstairs because she used to scream in pain. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't sleep at night because I kept texting my friend, like, I can't sleep. I'm hearing her screaming. And I just felt so awful. And, some friends told me, like, hey, that's just her saying goodbye. Maybe you should go down there. But I felt so, like, afraid for some reason to, like, go down because maybe it was my own house. It was dark. I'm by myself. And I just felt bad. I didn't want to hear that sound anymore and wanted her to be in heaven and pass. So she wasn't in pain anymore. So I guess it hurt me emotionally that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that they come back. And just kind of, they drop in, hi, and bye, maybe.
Just a check-in.
Yeah.
Now, Kayla kind of asked it, but what's your favorite investigative tool?
I definitely do like the EMF reader. I've just had so much wonderful interaction with it that I'm so glad that I kind of discovered it, because ever since then, now I'm getting answers back finally. When before you're just kind of guessing, like who's there and if you're alone. So I find it to be like a validation tool. That's
Right.
what I mainly lean on it for that.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
I'd agree with you on that. I think EMF, once you ruled out electrical interference, cell phones, that kind of thing, then yeah, they can validate. Especially once you are in communication with a spirit.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there's a restaurant that I went and brought it to because I always felt a presence, and then I brought it in, and it was like, yep, there's validation, something's here, okay. And
Absolutely.
then I'm writing about them. Yeah.
And this is probably going to be a hard one for you because you've had so many experiences, but what's your scariest or most memorable experience?
Okay, I'm actually glad you asked that because this isn't something I talk about much. But it is in my book, 2095. My friends, for my sweet 16 birthday, I had a slumber party that my mom put it together as like a surprise slumber party for me, and all my friends were over. And my mom had kind of like rented scary movies and in her time scary movies, so in our time not scary at all. But we were watching those kind of all night. Then she had cake, we opened presents, and then my mom kind of sent my friends down the hall. The whole book is really about my room kind of being down this really long scary hall with no light in it. But they went to my room, shut the door. My mom was like, hey, can you clean up the dishes and stuff? I don't want to do it in the morning before church. And I'm going to go put your brother down for bed, that kind of thing. So I was doing that. When I did that and cleaned up, I was walking down the hall, and I heard my friend kind of chanting and saying kind of funny things. And being like Catholic, I had no experience with any of this, but I just kind of knew that something wasn't right. So basically, she was having a seance in my room. Which is a very interesting story. By the time that I got in, because the door they didn't lock it, they claim. But by the time I finally got in, it was like I was pushing and pushing and pushing on the door, and finally the door just suddenly gave way, and then I like flew like kind of across the room to the floor, and then I ended up in their little circle and heard them kind of conjure with my friend, who was kind of like keep your enemies closer, kind of frenemy friends. She said that she was summoning her father, who had been in prison. I have no idea if it was true, because she was one of those kind of make up things for attention people. But the next day, I heard growling when I came in my bedroom at night, and I was getting ready for bed. And I turned off the lights, finally went to sleep after a few hours, and I woke up to this thing over my bed. Now, it was very dark in my room. I only had like kind of like a night light across the room, so it wasn't anything that could have been illuminating from this. This thing, it was like a mist that formed over my head, like right over my head on the ceiling. And it turned into, this is the only way I can kind of describe it. It was like kind of like look almost like an angel, how you kind of picture like an angel baby, but it kind of had like a bonnet. It looked like it had like a bonnet and a full like wispy dress that was white on. And it kind of like, it didn't have arms for a little while. I could see it had eyes basically, like, and then a mouth that started to open. And I think this only was a few seconds, but to me it felt like it was an eternity. But then all of a sudden it kind of like an arm came out of its kind of sides, and it looked like it was kind of how you would turn and like throw a baseball, like a pitcher at like at a baseball game. And it just kind of turned backwards for a second and then went and threw something right at me that I could see it had like a black object in its hand. And then I was knocked out. Swear to God. Never really knew what happened, but I woke up the next morning and I was terrified because my head hurt extremely bad. And I woke up and then my mother came running in the room because I was screaming. And she thought I fell out of bed, but because I had this bump on my head. She said it was the size of an egg and it was black and blue. She took me to the doctor, and the doctor was telling her that I could only have been struck from above for where this like egg on my head, really this welt was. And I could not have fallen out of my bed. It was impossible. I mean, so this doctor had known me my whole life and went to church with us and everything. And I'm telling him what happened. I'm like, this is what I saw. They just ignored it, but I know what I saw. And it was really scary. Like, even its face, as it was throwing this thing at me, it changed into this like evilish face. And so after that, I heard growling a few times at night. It was always when I would come in and get ready for bed. And so like basically the rest of my like living there, because that's when I was 16, I slept on the other like end of my bed. So I was just terrified. I was too afraid to sleep there. And then I finally moved my bed to the other side of another wall to like feel better. But I was always so terrified of that room.
And despite all this, all the physical, that's what gets me. So, as a parent, has your daughter had experiences?
Well, so when she was 2.5, we brought like my son home from the hospital. He was newborn, and he had taken her nursery room, and we had made a guest room into her bedroom. And she had like basically talked to us. My brother and I were standing there talking with my husband in that little, like right on the stairs, actually, where I described where I saw the shadow person, right there. And we were about to put the kids to bed, and she was playing or something. We were just talking. And all of a sudden she goes, Mommy, there's a man sitting on the rocking chair. And we just looked at each other, like me, my brother, and my husband just kind of looked at each other, and we're like, So we had known that we had this entity in the house, but we didn't know if that's what she was seeing or what she was talking about, or she's playing, imaginary friends. She was only 2.5, so I kind of found that it couldn't really probably be imaginary friend. It was kind of too young. But she described this man, and it sounded exactly like a picture, really, that I had seen of my grandfather when he was in it was a World War II picture when he was in the Navy. And I just looked at my brother and I said, I think that's like what she's like describing. I don't know, but that's what it looked like when he was young. And then she goes, he's getting off the chair. He's walking up. He's walking to me. He wants me to read a story. She took him apparently in her new room, sat on her bed where she began. You know how they think that they're kind of reading because they've memorized a book. Mm-hmm. But she did that. She was reading this book to whoever it was, and then she said that he said it was time to go to bed. She turned off her light and told us to go away. So we were just watching the whole time. So after that, she hasn't seen anything besides Aspen, our cat, that passed away. So she'll tell me a few times that she hears the cat, or she thinks that she saw the cat even here in this house. So I'm not sure. The cats like her.
But see, that's the difference. Because you had so many paranormal experiences in your life, you can recognize, unlike so many others that just pass off their kids' terror and experiences as overactive imagination. Whereas you can look at it and go, oh, damn, okay, well, we have something going on.
I will never do that. I always tell my husband, I will validate, I will listen, I will figure it out. I don't want them to grow up the way that I did. Because I was always hushed. So, and it hurt me. So I'm like, no, you feel like you can't be who you are, So, yeah, I will listen to them. And even, like, they told me that, we had banging on our doors. And I actually this morning I figured out what it was. When you open, when we open our door in our bathroom that's in our bedroom, like that master bathroom, when you open that door, their doors move. And I'm like, that's what it is.
It creates a vacuum within the hallway.
Exactly. Right. So I was like, nope, you don't have to be scared. It's all cool. You're fine.
And that's what's great as an investigator. You can figure out the mundane and explain it to the kids, versus your kids know spirits are real because, well, mommy, daddy are investigators, or Bigfoot's real because well, we've heard the knocks, or aliens are real because, well, look, there's a UFO.
I guess I'm just a mean parent because I just tell them it's a burglar coming to take them away.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So
they know my story about thinking it was a burglar. So they'll probably they think it was first now, which is funny.
I just use that if they don't clean their room, he's gonna take them.
no, that's Krampus. That's Krampus. So we're gonna go ahead and go to our first break. We'll come back. We're gonna go into your books and talk about your books and what inspired you. And well, we kind of know what inspired you, but talk more about your books and the writing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with Rosella in about 5 minutes. Here is Poltergeist by Cryptamnesia.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, 'cause I'm rotted here tonight. Just burn me like a witch and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die, I am your poltergeist. I must have 1,000 souls trapped inside. 1,000 souls that are haunting in my eye. You keep trying to kill me, but I cannot die. You try to ignore me, but I haunt you deep inside. You keep trying to kill me, but I cannot die. You try to ignore me, but I haunt you deep inside. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, 'cause I brought it here tonight. Just burn me like a witch, and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die, I am your poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. I'll eat your dreams while you immerse in all of your hate. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Oh, you're caving in, the loss of sleep keeps you obsessing on your pride. But in the end, you let me in. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, cause I'm wanted here tonight. Just burn me like a witch and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die, I am your motherfucker. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, cause I brought it here tonight. Just burn me like a witch and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die, I am your poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Oh, poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Welcome back to S4. It's great to have you tonight on this hot, blustery Washington State night. And, of course, it's cold in Ohio, where Rosella is. Tonight we have Rosella C. Rowe on the show tonight, talking about her books and her Haunted Ireland tour, which I can't wait to hear about. And I got to give a real quick shout out. We have, and as most of our listeners know, I do give a shout out to new countries that pop up on our radar that are listening, and we have Serbia. You know, we've had Bosnia, we've had Croatia, but tonight we actually, yesterday Serbia popped up. That's kind of cool.
All right, guys. For you got one more hour to get your month of May giveaways entries in. So email us at s4radiowinner@gmail.com for your chance to win an S4 Paranormal Swag Bag. We will be giving those away throughout the month of May, and please send us your best paranormal experience or one that you know of, and your name and a way to reach you in case you win. We will be drawing these winners during the third hour of each show. The last week of May, we will draw again for all the names, and the winner will receive an extra large swag bag. So please get your entries into us at s4radiowinner@gmail.com.
And Christopher won last week.
Yes, he did.
Christopher, your prize is going out in the mail tomorrow.
Yep.
So, you've got 2 books that are getting released currently, correct, Rosella?
So 2095, based on a true story, is coming out June 12th. And then the other one I'm actually working on still, 911 Emergency, which isn't a real story, but the other story is real. 2095 is a real place.
Excellent. So did you change the names for 2095, or did you actually use your real names?
I actually had to change the names, to protect the family. Is still alive, basically, her children, right, and her husband. So I did do that. So if you kind of hear me start to say the other name by accident, I'm still getting used to it.
I got you.
Yeah, just coming out, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot to change that name to that. Yeah.
So what inspired you to be a writer? Because I know you were saying earlier in the show that you've been writing since you were a child. Is that sort of something you've always wanted to do, or?
Well, I never actually thought of it as anything but a hobby. I wrote, my first novel, kind of like murder mystery kind of deal. I loved Fear Street as a kid. I forget who. Now all of a sudden I forget who wrote that. But that was a big thing of me and my friends kind of doing reading competitions of who can read the most books in a week. R.L. Stein, that's it. back then, I kind of call it like, because some people say Goosebumps, and I'm like, oh no, the real thing was Fear Street, because they are really scary, and you followed the characters and stuff like that. But I really got into that, and I wanted to make my own book about it. So I did that using my friends as a spin-off kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, later on, growing up in life, the person who I had was as the bad character, who was our friend in the group, actually ended up being a very bad character in real life. So that was ironic.
Right.
But I've been writing, since I was kind of 9 years old. And then when I'm 11 to 12, I was convinced I was going to solve JFK's murder, and started writing stuff about that. And then I got into poetry, especially in college. I won a lot of contests and awards. Basically, like St. Mary's College, I won a big poetry contest for women for one of my poems, and I've been published 27 times or something that I know of when I had to do a writing resume. But yeah, I really got into writing children's books. So I've been writing children's books for, let's see here, it's been almost 15 years, and I have 16 books underneath another name. And so I just started doing this pretty much 3 years ago, now 4 years ago, writing 2095 for therapeutic reasons. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, you know what, I think this book will save people. I think it's going to make a difference. I think I'm doing this for a reason. And I've always been a person who believes that everything happens for a reason. So, and then actually 911 emergency came to me when I was watching a show, like a paranormal show, and I was like, I can write this, and I can write a better story. And using the spirit that lived in my house, I kind of looked at it from the other way. And that's when I came up from that story. Yeah.
Okay, so do you think having paranormal experiences as a child is kind of what inspired you?
I do. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that if I never would have experienced anything paranormal, I never would be writing about it. Mm-hmm. I think I'd just still be kind of plugging along doing children's books or, other things. I actually I'm planning to write a Hallmark Christmas movie in the future. I have the story already mapped out for that, but I really get really inspired by the paranormal and anything to do with the wonderment of paranormal. Mm-hmm. The unexplained, you'll see something, but you still want that validation that someone else is maybe even seeing it or experiencing it, and it just makes you feel special that entity showed themselves to you for a reason, and trying to figure out that mystery. I go kind of go crazy off of that, the high of being special for that moment, I guess, and writing about it.
So is there any specific author that has inspired you over the years?
Actually, Mark Spencer really has inspired me because he wrote a little bit of a similar story in his character. He has a book called A Haunted Love Story, The Ghost of the Allen House. And he lives there, and he basically wrote about a scandal of the person who used to live there before him, and kind of just turning the town upside down with the wonderment of this actually happening, and no one ever understanding why this woman killed herself, and he figured out why, finding letters in the attic that he believes ghosts led him to. So I've actually interviewed him for my blog. That will be up at the end of June. But I wrote him, when I read the book, I wrote him because I was still writing my book, 2095, where the person who I lived in that house, she killed herself, days after moving away. So I was like, hey, your character and my character have stuff in common. And you're writing about something and this is your reason, and I'm writing about this, and this is my reason. And our reasons were a little bit different, but it was inspiring to be able to talk to someone else about the similarities. So we became kind of good buddies, and now, hopefully in January, he said that I could come out when I come out to Arkansas where he lives. I can come out and investigate his house, which is a dream. The ghost hunters have been there, the ghost adventures, everything. You name it, they've all been in there. And he's just so sweet. His wife and him and what they've experienced is very similar to what I've experienced at 2095. So I really admire him and the way he puts words on a page. It's, you read it and you're like, more. So he's really awesome. I like him.
Okay. So, Haunted Ireland Tour.
Oh, yeah.
What made you want to host a haunted tour?
Well, actually, I had been watching. I watched Mike Ricksicker's YouTube segment about this woman, basically May, and she puts on these tours, taking everybody back to her homeland in country Ireland, because she lives in Kentucky now with her husband that she married and moved to America 7 years ago. So I thought her story was really inspiring, and I called her up, and I just wanted to talk to her about it. And I'm just like, hey, like, your story is really inspiring, and I really would love to come on one of your tours one day, because she was just starting up haunted tours, mainly for, like, in October. But I'm like, I can't go in October because that's my daughter's birthday, and when I'm booked so much for book signings and things. But she's actually a singer as well, and I was going to be an opera singer before I kind of fell into all of what I fell into with my career. And so I have that in common with her. So we just were talking for a while, and then she's like, you know what? I will do a whole tour around you, and you can sign your book. And I have a lot of medium friends who wanted to come and do readings for people. So, well, we're going to go. Like, it's actually September 23rd through October 1st. And have a great time, and it's in 2021, so not this year, but when hopefully all this is over. But now they called me and offered, because apparently it's International Ghost Hunter Day, when we're going to be there, which I never even thought about, and they are going to do a live feed of me being lead investigator and investigating the most haunted castle in Ireland, and will represent Ireland on that day. So I'm thrilled. I'm really excited.
Are you talking Leap Castle?
No, it's actually it's the Belvedere Castle, if I'm pronouncing it right.
House?
Yes, with the jealous wall. Yes. So we're gonna start out at the jealous wall and see what we can get, and then go into the house. And the owner is also really excited about it. So I'm just thrilled. I'm completely Irish, so
it looks like a great trip. I'm looking at your itinerary right here, and Leap Castle is one of my absolute. It's my bucket list.
Have you been or no?
No. I've never left this side of the world, but I really would love to go there one day.
Well, come on board. We'll go and have fun. I love it. Yeah.
If no one has a problem with me not feeding my kids for a couple months, I can go.
Yeah, the tour, it's actually not that bad.
No, at $1,700 a person, that is really well, like, and with what you get, that's just amazing.
Right.
So go over the itinerary for us, and tell us a little bit about each of the places you're going, and what folks are getting for $1,700.
Oh darn! I don't have it in front of me. But
if you'd like me to give you the the places, because you might know most of them.
Yeah, please.
So
I do. If you say their names, I'm like, oh, okay.
But you got. I'm not Irish at all, so I'm probably gonna butcher some of these. Kilmainham Gow.
I probably already did.
The Kilmainham Gow.
So first of all, when are they leaving and from where?
Oh, so they are going to be picked up at the Dublin airport on September 23rd.
Okay, yeah, it's September 23rd through October 1st. So, and we are going to we are going to go to Leap Castle, but I'm sorry, Leap Castle, but I'm afraid I really want to talk to people too about the most exciting things. We're going to be doing ghost hunting during even the day at that castle. During the day, have an investigation, and then we're also going to be investigating the last castle that we're staying at, because so on the tour it includes all your accommodations and every meal except for like a few. She said every night has live music. It's just going to be fabulous. But that last night that we stay at this huge castle that is from the 17th century, it's really remarkable. If you look it up, it's this huge blue castle, like painted bright blue. And we're going to be investigating that on the last night, all night long.
See,
so
I got to break in because you said you're investigating during the day. So many people don't get that. You can investigate any time of the day and you're going to get something. Spirits
that's
are
what
just
I
active.
saw that glowing ghost cat.
Huh?
It was during the day. The glowing ghost cat was during the day.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely. But so many, and they get that from Paranormal TV, I know. But so many people think you can only investigate when it's dark out. No, spirits are around you all the time, 24/7. So no, it's really encouraging hearing you say, yeah, we're going to be investigating during the daytime.
I investigate during the day all the time. And May is very, she'll be the first to tell you, hey, honey, you'll get stuff during the day. It doesn't matter if it's day or night.
Oh, no.
And I've been at places at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning during the witching hour and all this stuff. Nothing happens. But during the day I go, and I'm like, whoa, 40 things just happened to me. I got to write all this down or I'm not going to get it right. I'll forget because so much happened. So I'm a big day investigator. In fact, when I go, I'm going June 13th. I'm going to the Gill House in Ohio, and I'm also going to the Brownilla Cottage. And that's in Galion, Ohio, and I'm investigating there. It's during the day. Mm-hmm. And the tour guides were like, don't you want to come at night? I'm like, no, I'm the day person. I'll get stuff. It doesn't matter if it's day or night. I'll be fine. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm a stickler for people saying, like, oh, I got to be up at, like, do, like, 1 o'clock in the morning tour or something. I'm like, no.
That's what gets me. You know, I've been doing this for 30 years, and it really doesn't matter. It's Paranormal TV that screws all that up so bad. Now, and the only thing that's different between day and night is you might pick up something because everything's quieter at night. But that's the only difference.
I've seen the same things during the day as I do at night. So, yeah, there's no difference to me.
Absolutely.
But that castle, it's supposed to be the most haunted castle in the world. And May said, she goes, you stand in the middle of the courtyard where all these guys were executed. There's I think it was 8 men who were executed. I am writing an article about it later. I've interviewed her, but my notes are downstairs. She said that if you go out there in the courtyard and you stand there, you're going to get a lot of stuff. You're going to get so much that you'll be overwhelmed because it'll keep going. Noises. She's like, you hear shotguns, you hear all these things. So I'm pretty excited about going, yeah. And then we're going to stay at these really nice family-owned, like traditional Irish inns.
Cool.
That have really nice, good food. Because I'm a picky eater. It's funny, I'm like 99% Irish, according to my mother, but I love to eat like a variety of stuff. So I'm like, I don't want to just be stuck eating certain things all the time. And she's like, oh, no, the food is actually known as to be like the best in the world. Like Ireland and what their food is really changed. They're really on the map now with their gourmet like foods and stuff. So these places are serving gourmet food. So you eat where you stay. You get musicians coming in every single night playing Irish tunes. I mean, what can you ask for? Like, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
So you're not just getting a haunted tour, you're getting an experience of the culture, hands down, which is what's great.
Yeah, that local culture that she's bringing us to. Plus, she said if we have time, she's the owner of the tour group. She manages everything, and she goes on the tour with you. So she's like, if we have extra time, I'll just be like, hey, we're close to so-and-so. Let's swing them over there for 15 minutes while we wait for this. So you get extra stuff that's not even, on that itinerary. And my friend, if he does go, he's going to do a tarot card reading. Then I have another friend who's a medium, and she's going to be doing readings. And I'm going to also do a book signing one night and talk to people about my experiences in my books and everything I'm doing. Plus, I'm writing about the entire tour. So if you come, you just might end up in my blog.
So that kind of so wait, was there any more itinerary that you wanted to bring up?
So they're going to visit the graves of Bram Stoker's parents.
Right on.
The Carroll Passage tombs. They predate the Egyptian pyramids by over 800 years.
Okay.
Which is really cool. And then the Mullaghmore Coastal Drive. They're going to take a drive down this coastal area, and it is where your soul could be captured by an Irish leprechaun. So you could come back soulless. I like this.
You find the pot of gold, too.
Is that the
it's
trade-off?
gonna be really
Huh?
interesting.
Is that the trade-off?
Sure. Your soul for a pot of gold.
Yeah, we're also going to have bonfires and have real Irish ghost stories told by the manager and owner of the tour, and do like a Halloween tradition. So this is something that's really interesting. Halloween was actually a lot of our things that like our culture, that our customs that we do in America have been brought over by Irish immigrants, and to which my grandparents were one of them. So I thought this was fascinating. But in Ireland on Halloween night, it's the only night that you don't stay inside, like in front of your fire, because in Ireland, of course, in October, it's freezing at night. But they do a community bonfire where you would bring a radish, which is apparently over there, their radishes are like huge. And they carve a little hole in it and put a candle inside, and then they place it around the bonfire, like the outskirts of the bonfire. And then they do a little kind of wishful prayer. So it's kind of like their New Year's Eve, where they're saying goodbye to the past and saying hello and bringing good spiritualism and like good kind of like vibes for the future. It's like a blessing. So it's interesting. That's their Halloween. So we're going to do that when we're over there.
So that sounds like a turnip. And what many don't understand is turnips were the first jack-o'-lanterns.
Okay, then you know. Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, I know all about Celtic lore. But yeah, so in Ireland, the turnip is what they carved. What Americans carve for jack-o'-lanterns now.
Yes, right.
It's America that turned everything into a pumpkin, and turnip was the original. Here. Yeah. So yeah, she said we don't have big turnips here. Really, they're small. Ours are small.
And we eat them more. So yeah, they got the unedible pumpkin, and then did it with the pumpkin. And yeah, she's kind of like, well, what we think of Halloween is nothing like what you guys do.
Oh no,
so
no, not at all.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
And
so
they also use the bonfire. They will actually jump over the bonfire and use it for purification.
Yes, right. So it's kind of like a great, start to the. In a way, it's not the New Year yet, but it's like these great things, like vibes, kind of for the future and blessings, like wonderful spiritual kind of things that you'll feel. It's very moving. A lot of energy, I've gone to a lot of places too where it's like a lot of spiritual energy that really moves you, and just like you feel great the next few days or whatever. So it's going to be kind of neat. I'm looking forward to learning more about it, because my whole that's where my ancestors are from. So it'll be neat.
And that's kind of going to be the answer to my next question. But my next question was why Ireland?
That's why.
Yeah, so your ancestry plus this is where May goes. So that would explain that one.
My grandfather was from there, but they kind of have like counties instead of towns. So where he was from, that county was divided into two, like right where his house that they were born in, and like their whole family. But my mother went there last fall. And she knocked on the door of the family, and they answered, and they were so excited. They're like, "When are you coming back? We're gonna have a huge family dinner. There's like hundreds of us and everything." And it was really kind of cool. So I'm hoping to maybe do something like that.
Excellent. Yeah, and I always thought I was Irish, but come to find out, we had an ancestor that passed through Ireland, but I'm actually Scottish. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, so you're the next little, country away.
Right.
It's flicking into your ancestry and figuring out you're not what you thought you were.
Well, I don't even use genealogy.com. I've actually got pictures, and I've got ancestors that came over the Mayflower. There's somewhere in the family there's black and orange china that Columbus gave the family for getting married on the Mayflower. So I've actually got documentation. I don't need to go to a damn website.
Well, see, I always thought I was English on my mother's side. It turns out I'm French Canadian. So,
Oh.
Well, the other side of
Joe!
the other side
Well,
of
it's
my family
interesting what
comes
you
from
find out.
Guernsey Island in the UK. Hey, Joe, pointy sticks. I'm a Scottish bastard, absolutely, Joe.
So, for anyone trying to find this, where can they get to the how to join the tour?
Actually, I have everything. I'm trying to point people to my blog because it's all easily found there. And if you go to the side of my page, I kind of have it constantly up. And it's called like the Haunted Ireland Tour with Rosella C. Rowe. And if you go on there, the itinerary is on there. How to sign up is on there. You can find a lot of information. So it'll even go into like more detail on another page that it has like kind of like a little slideshow almost of it, and you can print it out. So
how many spaces are available on this tour?
25.
Oh, so get your
25.
tickets fast.
24.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and-
I'm on your page. It's 24.
So I'm going to ask, do you have to pay everything up front, or can you make a payment plan?
That's the wonderful thing about her. So since she owns it, she's really lenient, and she's like, anything you kind of want to pay, like say somebody's like, oh, I got a bonus and here's $400 this month, here's $97 this next month. She doesn't really kind of care. She's just really being pretty laid back with it, which is nice, and not breathing down your neck. So she's convenient about it. So, and she has 3 different forms of payment if you want to have like a plan.
Cool.
But otherwise,
Cool.
she's pretty cool. You just call her up, and then you go, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do."
All right,
And,
I've got to make a real quick announcement. Izzy just updated our S4 website, www.s-4radio.com. There is a guest page, and the tour is now linked on the guest page as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. We're seeing this for the first time because she
Yeah.
just did this.
So
And-
she's always updating the website for us.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot
great.
of changes coming up in S4. We have a lot of new guests coming up as well.
apparently, we find out when our listeners do.
And that's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh,
Because we definitely want to come on this trip, but I got to figure out how to come up with funding for it. So that question was answered. So, Cole, you were talking about the Titanic. This cruise is going over the... No?
No, wrong tour. I'm sorry.
Okay. So we won't even bring that up.
Nope.
well,
But-
actually, did a piece on the Titanic. Is that what you're talking about?
No, but I do want to mention that everyone should get their tickets as early as possible because you only have 24 spots. And after February 23rd, 2021, it does go up in price.
Right. Yeah, it
And
does.
I wanted to clarify. So this tour is September of 2021, correct?
Yes, and actually, I
Absolutely.
wanted to tell you a little perk. We are going to be taking a Mercedes-Benz bus, like a little kind of minibus, those vans, kind of like those party vans that you kind of see,
All right.
on Hollywood, on the TV shows and stuff. So she says that she has 12 seats per bus. But basically, me and my husband will be going. I hope that my, I kind of called him my adopted little father, basically there, and his wife. Hopefully they will come, and then my medium friend, and then, actually 2 medium friends might be coming and doing a session, like a whole kind of, you can sit there and listen to them and you get major readings from them, like 25 minutes of readings.
Damn it. That means there's only 15 slots now.
So how much do I have to pay
Yeah.
extra to drive the bus?
Ain't nobody wants you driving that bus.
They might put her on her foot on that one. But she also sings Irish tunes while we drive, and snacks are included in your tour price on the bus, so you don't have to buy anything. when you're on the bus. And they do stop very frequently for bathroom breaks because over in Ireland they have laws that are really strict about basically the driver driving. So he can only drive for 4 hours a day straight, so they stop a lot.
So Joe is saying Mercedes-Benz goes to her bus, are they going to be serving a lobster? Lobster.
I don't know. But yeah, it is. She's very convenient. You know, she likes everybody to be very comfortable. And yeah, her voice is amazing. If you haven't seen her, like, she's on my Facebook page too. And it's May Huron, and she's really awesome. She has CDs out in Ireland, and she's really well known there. And she'll take you in between places. She'll sing on the bus. She'll sing at the places according to the legends, like in the folklore. She'll tell you these stories and sing these hymns. It's very interesting.
So, it also says here that you, included within the package is the use of paranormal investigation tools. Do you know what tools those would be?
I think that she has extra cameras, because I talked to them about that like they were bringing the extra cameras, like, to videotape me that one night for the Ghost Hunters, like, National Day. They're doing that. So they have extra equipment that you can use.
Awesome.
But
wow, you couldn't ask for any more bang for your buck.
Oh,
that is an excellent price for all the things that are included in that.
But just to clarify too, so if you have your own equipment, you could bring your own equipment.
Yeah, so my Tri-C Ghost Hunter friends, I know that a lot of them are coming, and I already told her, I was like, you better have a good compartment down there. My friends have a lot of equipment. So, yeah, and you can bring your own, and you can ghost hunt at any of these inns. Like, we're really staying at inns, and then that castle on the last night is our big, spring, basically, because she says that costs a lot a night, but that's even included in our tour. So it's awesome.
And thank you, Joe. Joe says Eric is a paranormal investigative tool. Yeah, whatever.
Well, see, we could just bring you on as carry-on then, right?
There you go.
Might be a little uncomfy.
Oh, maybe.
Oh no, I'll make do. Come on now. I've slept in tents in the desert before. I can sleep in a duffel bag.
Mercedes-Benz, right? Yeah, so it'll be really fun. I'm really, really looking forward to the castle, staying at the 17th century castle at the end, and ghost hunting at night. I mean, just going in the dark and those down the hallways, like, that would be amazing to me. So I can't wait. And we're gonna go see this really beautiful waterfall too, on this property, and it's all like kind of like it's haunted because there used to be a castle that was on it, and now people see a stagecoach basically pull up with horses like leading the stagecoach a few times a day. So it's kind of interesting. She says it's a really well known thing, and there's a waterfall right near it. So it's really going to be cool.
Okay, so I've got to ask, I haven't heard this mentioned yet, but do you plan on investigating the Fae lore that's also in Ireland?
Oh, yeah. That one is, I'm not on the list of things that I'm kind of writing about for my blog, so I have to kind of look more into that one. There are certain places that she talked to me about with the ghost stories that I'm going to write about, kind of going to coincide with the tour and me going to promote it. So that's not one of the things that she had talked to me about yet. Okay. So I still have to figure out the ghost stories on that one.
So what's interesting in Ireland is a lot of the houses, the old style houses, actually are built with the front door and the back door across from each other. And that's because of the ferry raids. When the ferries have their troop raids, they would actually come through the front door, and instead of having them go all over your house and destroy your house, they would just go through the front door out the back door. So there's a lot of ferry lore that's in Ireland.
And she actually is going to take us to this cave that we have to bring an offering for the ferries to go into this cave.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So it's interesting. I mean, I've never been a person who really thought that much about fairies in general. Obviously I wasn't raised on it or anything, but it's very interesting just to hear that it's a part of their everyday culture. So
that answers my next question. Have you ever experienced fae?
A fairy?
Yep. So
no.
So you gotta understand, and we've actually done complete shows on fae. So fae is an umbrella term for fairies are a part of the fae, but there's a whole realm of entities. I'll call them entities for lack of a better word right now. But fairies are part of it, and you got dryads, which are tree spirits. You've got leprechauns. You've got trolls. You got gnomes. There's a whole realm that fall under the fae.
Brownies.
Interesting.
Brownies are cool. I like brownies.
What about furries?
I have not experienced anything like that with what I do yet, but I also go into their historic places that people lived in America. So it's a little bit.
And believe me, a lot of paranormal experiences that we've had clients that it's not spirits, it's actually a fairy or disruptive fae, and they're not so nice to get out sometimes.
I would think, yeah, because I've heard that they're very. To use the word maybe possessive.
It depends. It depends on which one it is. It depends
right?
which one it is.
That'll be interesting.
So how is this tour being funded? Is there a funding plan that you have besides what people pay, or is the payment that people are paying all that's costing for this tour?
May is in charge of it because it's this is her business that she runs, but as I understand it, she splits it up basically between the inn, also your food, the bus, and even that includes the musicians every single night, so everybody's paid. The haunted places that we're going to tour, doing our haunted paranormal investigations, I think the buildings are just being cool and letting us do that.
Nice.
So, because they're her friends, that kind of deal. So, and she's going to see what other things that she can do for us to surprise us that we'll like, that kind of thing, along paranormal investigation route. She says she always has a lot of surprises up her sleeve. So, I'm really intrigued to see what that is. She's in charge of all the money. I have nothing really to do with that. I just know, from my perspective, if my friends do come, you get that extra thing, and it will cost. They're going to charge money for that night to do sessions and stuff if they do come. And then my book signing, one night I'll sign my book and talk to people about my book, and then they can buy the book. But I'm not charging extra for that. It really is just $1,700 a person, and you get she said all but 3 meals are included. So, and that includes the snacks on the bus. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. So this is your first tour, but she's done many tours. She
is. Mike Ricksecker is doing one in July, so he's going before me. I know of that. Just because I know him and he's my buddy. Right. But other people are, they're having other tours too, they call them mystery tours. They also have other standard tours that they've been doing for 2-3 years. So this one is completely catered to what I wanted to do and what is most haunted in Ireland, so everybody will experience something when they go. And then I hope actually the next year afterwards, she's going to take us to the Irish islands, the islands that surround Ireland. And we're going to see a lot of cool places there. So I'm really excited about that. If this all goes well and everybody wants to come back, we will be going to see the islands. And that would be really neat, the whole coast of Ireland and what they have to offer. And she's even offered to bring us to some other castles too, that are more down towards the coast. like the coastal side. But yeah, there is one castle that we're going to go see, and I forget the name of it. Because like I said, I haven't looked at the itinerary for a while, but I remember the picture, and I saw this actually on the Travel Channel, where it's like an old castle that's in like complete ruins almost, but it's off of like basically on the coast where you like if you can get to it, you can walk on it, like walk to it when there is like no, what is it called? The tide is not up. So basically, you can walk because it's on a big sandbar, and go out there to it. So she's going to take us to that. So I think that that's going to be cool, and that's like one of those sidebar things that she's going to do. So it's pretty neat. Like a lot of the stuff that we're going to, I've seen like a lot of it just here and there off of the Travel Channel on TV. So I'm excited.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds great, and I'm hoping we can come up with the funds to go to this.
Gosh, I hope so. If you guys have anything too you want to do during the tour, let me know. I'll be happy to let you guys do something or sell a book or something.
Oh,
it's not all about me, I swear.
Don't twist my arm. Don't twist my arm.
I'm always giving. Hey, if you guys want to come, you can do your thing too. I don't care. And people are like, you don't want to share your moment. I'm like, oh, the world is about sharing. So let's go. Let's do it.
All right. So tell us about your haunted travel blog. So how long have you been writing your blog?
Well, actually, it was something that I kind of just woke up and had this idea, like what could kind of coincide with my book and always be ongoing based on what I have learned from my book. So that's how it kind of started. And then I had all my past paranormal investigations that I'm like, I can write about this and kind of put a face to a spirit that people say is still in this, in this building, in this space, and tell their story. So I decided to do that, and then it just took off. I had like 7 comments the first post that I made about the Golden Lamb, and people really crazy excited. People who had never heard of it before decided that they were going to go, and they were going to stay there. I still plan to stay overnight. I went during the day. And I got like 45 minutes of an ongoing conversation with this man. And I really just think that's the moment that really changed my life, to know that I could tell this guy's story and get it out there 140 years later, that he really still mattered to people, and he could still change people's lives, being gone in his words, trapped in that place. Then I went to that Post Town Elementary the same day, and had a huge experience there with that little girl who's 4 years old. An hour and a half conversation with her. Plus I had a conversation with somebody else too down the hall later. So big experience. So I just started writing all my kind of like past experiences, and then finding pictures like online of that person, and then calling the place and then talking to them more and asking questions if I hadn't already asked it. But I'm a person who goes into these places and I write everything down because I don't want to forget anyway. So I had a lot of material, and then I started like going to more places, still by myself. So I still do my own investigations even away from the group, and I also go on group investigations with Tri-C. So I'm always doing something every other weekend if I'm not doing a book signing or event for my books. But yeah, I actually went to Trans-Allegheny, which was insane. With the group, and I saw a shadow person. Nobody else saw it, but I saw a shadow person kind of like peeking their head out around the corner. And I mean, I saw it 8 times, where I started kind of just saying to my group, like, you have to tell me you see it, because it's like driving me crazy. Like, I'm seeing this and nobody else is. And it was just kind of doing a peekaboo with me. Yeah, just a bunch of things happening, and I have a lot of like pictures and things too, a lot of stories to tell. So it's very interesting of all the evidence and things that we found. So, and then I have like the big tour. I'm going to Maine, and I'm going to be staying like on my family vacation. Really, I've always wanted to go to Maine, and we're going to go stay at all these historic inns, and I'm going to write about that. And then on our way, we're going to go to Massachusetts, and I'm going to visit Salem, Massachusetts, and then also the Lizzie Borden house is what I plan to do. So that'll be fun. And then in January, I'm going to be a lead investigator. It's called ESP Weekend at the most haunted hotel in America. It's the Crescent Hotel in Arkansas. And that is the book that I was talking about before Keith Scales wrote, and he's the ghost tour manager of. He's invited me to be lead investigator for the weekend, the paranormal weekend. And basically, we do a bunch of different things, but he has like medium sessions, or he has like telepathic kind of like seminars. He's got a bunch of different stuff going on. But you're at one hotel one night, and then you go over to, I think it's the Basin Hotel the second night.
Her house again?
So it'll be fun. So that's the Crescent Hotel. And then I hope to go to Mark Spencer's house, the Allen house, investigate his house, and then I'm going to go to the Elms Hotel, if you've ever heard of that, in Missouri, and investigate there.
I haven't heard of that.
So the ghost hunters have been there, and they had a lot of evidence. That was in their young days, but that's a lot of action that they had
the
there.
Elms Motel?
It's the Elms Hotel, I believe.
Hotel.
And it's a spa. It's like a hot spring spa. The whole town has a lot of interesting history with the mafia. So a big guy, I believe, in the mafia got killed in one of the rooms. So I'm going to go in and do that. And then I actually did a whole Titanic piece about the Titanic Museum in Branson, Missouri. And they offered for me to go to Gatlinburg's, their location, and investigate there, which is something they don't really offer that much. They said I can interview their staff and look around and do my own investigation with the EMF reader. And so that will be really fun. So those are the things that I'm doing.
So just to cut in real quick for our listeners, you are going to hear sirens in the background because there is a house fire here close to our studio.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
And, so one of my questions was, for me, I would love to go to the Winchester house. So the Winchester house that's in California, and that's got some awesome history, because I can't remember the names, but I know that was a house that her husband died. I think it was Mr. Winchester, and so she built additional rooms for the spirits, and the house basically took a life of its own and kept on expanding, and that was kind of the story behind Rose Red, the movie. But that's one place I would love to go, just to explore. What's a haunted location that you would love, if cost was not an option, that you would love to go to?
Oh, wow, interesting. I don't know. I'm kind of like, with Ireland coming up, I'm so pumped about that I'm like, that was kind of always my dream, to go to the castles and then do an international kind of investigation at these castles. So I'm going to do everything that I've always wanted to do, so I'm pretty lucky. But really, the Winchester house, I have been there, and I have taken a tour during the day, and oddly enough, that is one place that I would kind of like to go back to do an investigation at. It's a funny thing. Remember how I told you a long time ago that I liked to write poetry, and that's what I started out doing. That was one of my first poems that I wrote. Was I saw a documentary about it, and then I started writing this poem, and I got a lot of awards for that poem about the Winchester house. So my husband took me there because his sister company is out of California, and we ended up staying near it for 2 weeks. So we did a huge tour, and it is insane. I've seen it so many times on TV with the ghost, like shows, right? The ghost investigation shows and everything, and it is really interesting. And I always remember, like, they have these little kind of long, small stairs. It's like kind of the small little labyrinth area that she kind of has set up, and I remember feeling so awed and dizzy when I was on the stairs. And there's this episode on the Ghost Adventures where this guy falls down because he gets dizzy on the stairs, and I'm like, that's right where I felt.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of interesting. That's probably one of the places that I would like to go back to, because it's just so kind of far away. But I'm a driver. I drive everywhere.
So going to the history of it, so Dennis is in the chat room. He says he heard the Sarah Winchester was told if she ever stopped billing, she would die.
Right.
Is that true?
That's what I heard on the tour. Yeah,
Okay,
that is true.
okay.
Right. She had seances, though, every single night, so I think that made things kind of worse, if you ask me. Not like a seance really believer because of what happened to me.
Right.
That I think that anything can come through, whether it's good or bad, and so I have a bad experience with what my friends did, bringing that, I believe, into my house. So I think that that's kind of like a negative invite, which changes everything.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So, but my favorite episode of that is the Ghost Brothers. If you haven't watched the episode of that, of them going to the Winchester house, you should. It's hysterical. And they find a lot of great evidence that the other shows never found. They had really great interaction from Sarah's assistant, actually, like assistant, secretary, whatever you want to call her, was talking to them at a table where there was a chandelier over top that kept moving, and that chandelier is known to move. So it is a very interesting place. I mean, we didn't see the whole thing, and we still got lost forever. So you just feel like, like once you go in, you never can go out. It's interesting.
Awesome. So, what is your favorite blog that you've written, or do you have one?
My favorite blog piece that I think I've written, it's kind of a tie. Golden Lamb, I really am personally attached to because it was my first talking back and forth experience, finally getting the EMF reader. So I'm passionate about that one. But my Titanic piece, I really believe is very good and tells people about the people who died on the ship and the traumas and tragedies that they had to go through. Trying to get to a new life that never ended up happening, and the people who even lived beyond them and how they had to suffer, and the things that they're found on their bodies when they finally found their bodies, and how that tells who they were as a person by the objects that were on them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel close to that. I've always been a Titanic lover. But that really always it just pulls at me emotionally for some reason that I never will understand. But when I went into that museum, it was like, it's like a huge memorial. And you think you know everything, and you really, about the Titanic, because I'm a lover of it, but I just did not know as much as I thought, I did. So you learn a lot. But trying to get people educated in who those people were and why they were important is special to me.
Okay.
So those are my two favorites. Yeah.
And what are your plans for the future with your blog? Do you plan on expanding it at all, or just continuing?
I want to. I want to definitely keep it going for as long as I have the time to do it. It takes a lot of time. Right now is what's going on with my children. I'm educating my children at home, so it's kind of taking a back burner as much as I would be writing every single day. But I try to put out two a month. And now I'm trying to do interviews of paranormal celebrities, especially writers, because that's my passion too, and I have a lot in common with them when I interview them. I do have a new one coming out soon with our lead case manager of Tri-C, and how she decided to be like a ghost hunter and the manager of Tri-C, and how the group formed. I think that's interesting because I like to talk about other people's paranormal experiences. So different things, going into restaurants that are haunted, like everyday places that people can get to, even parks, things like that they're like, oh, well, I didn't even know that was haunted, and I can go to that and check it out myself. So I'm getting people interested in their traveling, which was always one of my things. I love travel, and I love the paranormal, like haunted places and historic places, so I combined it all into one. So I do plan to expand it. It's just the time right now is so we don't know what's going to happen. So
Right.
I'm just kind of like going to try to like play it by ear the like next year and a half, I guess what they're saying is a year and a half now that we're going to be going through this, and just kind of play it by ear and keep plugging away. I think there's a lot of modern things, like technology has changed so much that it's really hard to keep up with something. Once you learn it, something else changes, and then there's something else that's like, oh, you got to get this because everyone has this now. So I'm trying to keep up with that.
Right.
But yeah, just kind of build my followers and complete the 911 emergency. I think you guys will really like that one. I have a lot of twists and turns in that, where like a lot of things elevate in the air and like kind of turn, kind of like do a turn next to this woman's head. Basically, they have this like soap bottle, like, you know, just a hand soap pump while she's doing dishes, just lifts off of her counter and she doesn't notice, and it's just turning in the air, and then all of a sudden she just looks over and then it drops. So I have interesting things, like even like her hand melts into the side of this car when she touches it and she doesn't understand why. So I have a lot of different things, and I'm kind of combining like even UFO things with a haunted experience and trying to blend a lot of different worlds. So people are interested in all different spectrums.
Oh, we will get to that in the third hour as well.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to our third break here. Here is Hell Within from Crypt Amnesia.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
host, Eric Cooper.
Welcome back to S4. Thank you for listening tonight, folks. It's been a great show thus far. And we have one more hour to go. We're going to talk about a little bit of Bigfoot and UFOs and see what Rosella has to say about that.
But first, we are going to give away this week's month of May giveaway. So, to start, I'm going to read you guys just one of the stories that came through. This one's from last week's winner, Chris Fisher. I saw a light that I keep seeing getting smaller as I emerged from it. The void is not like what I would see in the normal night, as I still could see my body as if I was in the sunlight. I kept walking and another light kept getting closer and closer. As the light got close, I emerged from it being born. I saw the delivery room, a green tiled room. Then I saw the door leading out to the hallway. The hallway had bright overhead fluorescent lighting. The floor was white tile. The walls had green tile, and above the tile the plaster wall painted yellow. I was then taken to my room, where I stayed a long time. I had visits by spirits. The most notable was a man that had only had a shadow, as my bedroom was dark and only had the door open to see the nurse's station. The walls were all white. I was under my blanket, which was a thin green-like cover found in institutions. The man slid an egg under the blanket, a bronze pig-designed Fabergé egg. He said, "I know your story," when he did it. That's kind of cool. He had like a seeing your own birth experience. That's amazing. So, thank you very much, Chris, for your story. Now to pick our winner. I found this new app. We're not going to use a hat anymore. So. Jill, you have won our prize, so we will be sending that out to you. I will be getting your address from you through email, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. And for all those out there, remember to get your stories in for next week to S4radiowinner@gmail.com. Make sure you get us a paranormal story, one that you've experienced or one that you know of. And then send us that to that email, and we'll get you into the drawings. Thank you very much, Jill. We will be sending out your paranormal swag bag as soon as possible.
All right. Rosella, you back?
Perfect.
All right. Okay. Real quick. So before we jump into paranormal topics in general, so do you have any other book ideas in your head that you're going to start working on? Ooh.
Life at risk, that these, the town people are going to come and get her and burn her at the stake because they burned her family like that. So that's my book, basically, that I still have to finish because I'm 18 chapters in. That one is called Witch. And then I have another one about a man who stalks his ex, like basically girlfriend. And when he gets jealous because she moves on and doesn't care about him anymore and gets over it, he gets obsessed with her and then tries to ruin her life. It's kind of like one of those things that, he's under the bed while they sleep. That kind of scary. So those are the things that I have in store, and also that Hallmark movie about takes place at Christmas, called A Christmas Kiss.
Now is the Hallmark is that a paranormal theme, or is it just a Hallmark movie?
No, just a Hallmark movie, like traditional, very traditional Hallmark Christmas set movie.
Now, do you already have a contract for that, or is that like something that you're in the process of trying to figure out?
Trying to figure out. I have the whole story outlined and everything, but then I have to get an agent just to put it in front of Hallmark. Okay. I know how to do that, but I just have to. I was going to do that too, and then a conference I was going to got canceled because of the start of all of this COVID stuff. So everything's been put on. But it kind of gave me like, okay, well, that's not the answer right now. Get back to your blog, get back to your book. And then all these interviews with all these people kept coming in who were big time. So I just figured this is a sign. This is what I'm meant to be doing right now. That kind of thing. So, yeah, my goal is to go to all the Paracons in America eventually. That's what I really want to do. So, but yeah, I'm always open to any kind of thing too. Anybody wants to invite me to something, okay. You know, like... I'm very open-minded about things, so yeah, anything paranormal, I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so let's next thing. What's your definition of the paranormal?
Yeah, I think that is a fine line for me. Paranormal is a haunting. But yeah, I would say to me that's what that means. But I have a different perspective, maybe. Than somebody else because I grew up in a haunted house. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's paranormal. Like some people, like you said, like Bigfoot and stuff. To me, that's not paranormal. To me, I think that I believe that Bigfoot exists. But do I think that it's a paranormal thing or an entity? I don't think so. Okay. So to me, that's my perspective. But, you know, I think that everybody's different. And I'm not going to say, you know, hey, you're wrong to anyone. Because I kind of believe we don't really know, right? Like, we don't find out till we're dead ourselves, so we don't know. But, yeah, to me, I more try to think of paranormal as hauntings. Like, I also, though... I kind of feel like the person that was in the other house was definitely had poltergeist activity. So to me, that's more paranormal.
Okay, fair enough. So,
but everybody's different, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So tell us your Bigfoot story.
Okay, well, I was driving, like I told you about my guys that have. I manage a band basically. Of kind of, I call him my adopted father because he kind of always says he's adopted me and my family. But his name is Jerry, and then another man, Vaughn, and they play they have guitar, like a guitar band basically. And I booked them events. Well, basically we were out really far away in this, basically it was a field in the middle of nowhere. There's this winery that they play at once a month. And I was driving back with my son, who is 4 years old. It was probably about 9:30 at night. It's just the weirdest thing. I was by myself, not following anybody. I mean, it was pitch black, kind of one of those things. It was just becoming spring, so it was still really cold in Ohio at night. So nothing and nobody was really out, you know, because they won't go out past a certain hour here. Well, we're just driving along in this field, and it was basically road and then two fields on, you know, a field both sides, like in the middle of the road running through it. And all of a sudden, I saw this thing, this big black kind of gorilla ape-looking thing with, I would describe, black hair. It was running on its front legs that looked like hands, like its front legs. It didn't look like, you know, like a dog. Mm-hmm. It looked like monkey kind of hands, and its it was kind of like bent upward, kind of a little bit, like how you just would hunch over to kind of play with a kid, in an ape kind of style. But it was going so incredibly fast. It went across the road, and it almost, if I didn't stop my car, it would have hit my car. And it had a piece of wood in its mouth, like it almost looked like a dangling sign. Almost. It was like something that was wooden. It was carrying in its mouth as it ran across the road on all fours. And it did. It looked at me. It looked me right in, like, the eye almost, if you could say that, because it was really dark. So who knows if we could really see through, like, through my windshield. My son yelled out, "The big monkey!" Because that's what he calls Bigfoot. Because I watch all the Bigfoot shows. I'm obsessed. But I used to watch that all the time when I was on the treadmill, and he used to love the big monkey, and he would scream out the big monkey whenever it came on TV, those reenactments and stuff, or any kind of footage. So he yelled that out. I mean, I was scared to death that this thing was going to kind of come back at my car or something, like, say, what was that thing? I'm going to look inside. So I went as soon as it passed, I just drove forward, and I was like, oh my God. So my son was 4 years old, and I just turned around and I said, "Did you really, what'd you see, Kevin? What'd you see?" And he goes, "It was the big monkey." Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. So I got home and I called one of the members of the band, then Vaughn, and I was like scared to death because my husband wasn't home yet. He was with my daughter somewhere else, and I said, "I can't believe what I just saw. I almost don't really know what I saw." But it was really very like long black hair. Somebody told me a story about some kind of circus who was traveling through, or a huge gorilla got loose 20 years ago. I don't know. I don't think I believe that. I think I saw a Bigfoot. I really think I do.
It sounds like it to me. So what's your opinion, what's your thoughts on what Bigfoot might be?
I mean, I guess I only know what's on TV, like a big, like 7 to 9 foot kind of tall, kind of ape meets man kind of figure. So, I mean, I think that there's some, apparently they're always like talking about Oregon, how they live in Oregon and stuff, like very isolated places, but Ohio is one of the big places that people come apparently. Like we have a huge group in Ohio that I didn't know about until like last summer. And I'm like, oh my God, it's called like Ohio Bigfoot Festival or something. And I'm like, I would have gone to that and tell the story and see what they said. I've also met the Turtle Man, and he apparently shot a Bigfoot, and he told me that he thought it was a Bigfoot. So I'm not really sure. I can just tell you what I saw, which I still can't say, hey, that's what that is, but I think that that's what it looked like to me, but it wasn't running up on, just 2 legs. It wasn't. So, I mean, this thing was definitely bent over and running on, it looked like arms, like front, like a, I don't know, like a dog would kind of, be running fast where it would go 2 legs at a time. Mm-hmm. That's what this was doing with its front arms and its back legs in sync, hunched over, and it had a huge hairy head. And I could see skin where its eyes were, like skin where its eyes were and its nose kind of was. Mm-hmm. In my headlights. See, because I was in the dark, so all I could see was what was in my headlights. But what always got me was it was carrying something, that was definitely important to it. And it was definitely, like, not a dog. Like, some people have said, oh, like, you stole a dog. I'm like, a dog is not that big. No. So you can tell when you see a dog.
Oh, absolutely. Now, have you ever seen a UFO?
Well, the only thing that I can say about that is, like, my husband and I, it was funny, we were walking in our old neighborhood one night, and it was really strange. Something started falling from the sky that was like an illuminated kind of, like, it looked kind of like what would I call it? Like a comet that, and then it broke. It looked like it broke up into 3 separate like things that were like falling to the ground, but it separated and it went really crazy far away from like where it started. And then we found out later, of course, because we live right by Wright Pat Air Force Base. Very hot place, right? So yeah, you know what I mean.
Yep.
And so of course they jumped on it right away. You guys didn't see UFO. We were testing something, or this was that, and yeah. So we don't really know what it was because the government will probably cover stuff up. So who knows what we saw? Well, that's the nearest thing I can say. But yeah, I mean, I believe in there's always something that we don't understand. So, like I said, I'm very open-minded. Yeah.
Okay, now, when you go on a paranormal investigations, is there any form of protection you use when you go in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I usually don't. I should be more cautious when I walk in. I usually just say a prayer for God to protect me and to guide me.
Okay.
To help tell this story of the spirit who I'm going to encounter. And then when I leave, I say, it's been nice getting to know you. Please don't come with me. Stay here. Or, go do whatever your thing is, but don't come with me. You're not allowed to come with me. And I repeat that 3 times. You're not allowed to come with me. And then I say another prayer before I leave. And then I go. I haven't had anything, happen yet, thank God. But hopefully nothing does. Because that is a fear of mine, because I do have 2 children and I've already lived through like a lot of hell from the kind of stuff I experienced, so I don't want to go through that again. But yeah, now I choose to visit the places, not live in them. That's what I say.
Okay. So, paranormal television shows. Do you see issues with paranormal TV involving paranormal reality?
You mean, do I believe it's real?
No, so when people watch Ghost Adventures or other TV shows, and it's all based on ratings, it's all based on fiction, not reality. Do you see that as an issue with what we actually do?
With what? Wait, with what? Like I'm doing personally?
Yeah.
Or okay. Well, the number one question I get from people all the time is they want to be kind of like ghost hunters as well, and they're curious. And then they'll write me and they'll tell me, no, I'm too afraid because it's like we were talking about earlier. They're evil. What if you get something that's demonic? I had somebody write me that a few days ago, and I'm like, well, then just don't do it if you're afraid, because I don't have any bad things that have happened to me. Once you go in there, it's very peaceful to me. So I have had to learn that stuff on TV is what a lot of people have told me. That's very Hollywood. That's just the TV for, ratings, for entertainment. And I've had to figure out the hard way myself as an investigator, because I was like, hey, none of this stuff is happening to me. This is taking a long time to get maybe an answer or something. Or sometimes you don't get an answer and you move on, right? You just don't kind of get what they got on TV or expect it. But I've had to learn that stuff is, more, not factual, obviously, like, reality. So I do think it depends what we're doing. Like, it doesn't do anything good for what we're doing in a way, because here's the truth and then here's the bended reality. Because this place is haunted, but you walk in, you're probably not going to have this happen to you because a lot of it was written and falsified. So I think that it does kind of harm people's thoughts about the paranormal in general. A lot of people too will be like, oh, well, that's fake, that's TV, they wrote that, so they won't believe me in what I write.
Right.
So I do think it's a good thing, because it gets it out there for the people who are curious, that they'll come to you and want to learn about what you're doing, but then they still also believe that stuff's real. That's the problem. And then you also have the people who just fear it because they're seeing it on TV and then they believe it. And then they always are like, everything's evil. But I mean, you have that at church too. My pastors come up to me, and with the story I was writing, he told me that it was evil. If I had something in my house, it was just evil. And I'm like, no, that stuff isn't really true. That's just TV. Like, that's very rare. And
Now,
he just was
on
like,
that,
no.
Have you ever dealt with a malevolent entity in any way?
I have. When I was at Trans-Allegheny, I had a situation where I was standing in the middle of the hallway. I was on my phone, in my notes, writing down things that we had experienced so I didn't forget. And I all of a sudden heard in my ear, get the fuck out, screamed in my ear, like really loud in a male voice. And it was like rough, and that scared me just because I wasn't expecting that. But I had been warned that there was a male who liked to do that. So, and I was sitting there in the middle of the hallway, I was alone, and my friends had said, like, on the group, they said, are you sure you're fine? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I figured if I could live through 2095 and then my second house, nothing scares me. So,
Absolutely.
But when that happened, I was kind of like, okay, I don't want to be alone. I didn't run away. I just, started walking towards them, and I'm like, okay, I don't think that we should kind of go over there for a little while. Let it, rest. See that we're not bad. And, and it calmed down. So, but that's the only thing that has ever kind of semi-frightened me, because I'm not really afraid of very much anymore. I'm really not. I don't get these ghost, things on TV where they run when they finally get something that they came there for to happen. So I'm like, you expected it, but you went there and you're running? Come on. So I never understand that.
That's the problem I have with paranormal TV, because you have every Tom, Dick, and Harry that wants to be an investigator all of a sudden. And I can't tell you how many cases we've done where they've had other teams come in. And, if you want to go investigate someone's house or a location, you've got to expect the unexpected. But,
right.
I don't know how many cases we've done where a team went in and someone went, boo, or something showed itself, and they screamed and ran away like little girls. It's like, come on now, why are you doing this?
This is what you came here for.
Yeah.
Don't call me a little girl.
You are. You're a little girl.
Yeah, I mean, my friends were like, oh my God, are you all right? Are you okay? And I'm like, well, I'm fine. I figured nothing's going to scare me anymore, because I just kind of won't let it. If I've seen what I've lived through and I've been okay, or something has hit me like right in the head and I've lived, I'm like, I'm fine.
Absolutely. So, in your experience, which do you find, I guess, more gratifying? Working solo or working in a team dynamic when you go on an investigation?
I know that, some people will say, like, you have to go with people to have validation, but I really kind of like to just go with, like, 2 people in there, and myself, like, just 3 of us, not very many people. Because I think the more people you have, the more interference you have in evidence and your personal experiences that you have with that entity that wants to interact with you and talk with you. The more people, it just kind of doesn't, it's shy, it doesn't want to interact. But when I walk around with my, 2 friends, or, like in the ghost group, or my brother and my friend, or just even, myself alone, I get more evidence than I do with the group, of 8 people or more. So, I think that, smaller is more intimate in a way. You just get more personal, emotional experiences.
Okay. Oh, let's see. So
you said that on your tour, there's tarot card readers and people with different gifts and abilities. Do you know anyone, or have you ever had any experience with a out-of-body experiences, astral travel, or viewing?
Well, I mean, I think that I'm sensitive to presences and knowing that if it's male or female by a feeling, that kind of thing. But yeah, my friends, they kind of do, like my friend who does the tarot card readings, he'll do a 25-minute like tarot card reading with you, and then he'll also do like a 20-minute to 15-minute personal reading with you about what spirit is with you, why, and why that's important for your journey in the future, like how that will benefit you, because why they're with you, they're there for you to keep you strong for this reason, to know that you're doing something good, so they're urging you to keep going, that kind of thing, which is what I try to really support and go for, that kind of thing. So I don't know anybody who has done the viewing. I can tell you myself, I've gone into, it's funny, like when I walk by buildings, I can know like a layout while I walk by the building, like almost as if it's a blueprint. Because people think it's kind of funny because I'll walk by and I'm like, oh yeah, you got new furniture, huh? Before they kind of knew it. So I kind of think that I kind of have like intuitional kind of things, or future kind of like little tiny things. Like today it happened to me, it was funny, my son gave me 2 little roses and I thought I shouldn't place this here, but I don't have any reason to say that because it's not going to get knocked over. Well, I left a window open, which I rarely do because it's colder, so my room gets really hot at night. And I'm like, I'm just going to open the window for a little while. And I left it. And then that storm came through, blew the roses down, and water all over the place. Like everything, the vase was everywhere. And I'm like, why did I do this when I had this like kind of vision that I shouldn't be doing that? I shouldn't have left it. So little things like that will happen to me.
So you have kids. Would you ever take your kids on investigation, and do you feel there's a certain age that they're more appropriate for investigating?
Well, my daughter has gone on, not really investigations, but she'll go on a tour with me in a museum, and then I'll listen to the ghost stories, I'll interview the staff, that kind of thing. But she's not gone with me during the actual, my personal investigation part, where I'm asking the entity the stuff. I'll kind of have my husband take her to another part while I do that. But she will always kind of tell me that she has a feeling of this or she has that. I try to just be supportive that I listen to her and she feels heard, and validate that feeling of being heard. But I do believe that children probably shouldn't be going on things until they can understand what they're perceiving, what's happening for real around them, because their imaginations are so different than the rational adult who can rationalize. Their mind more goes into fear automatically. Right. So I kind of think there's a difference there. Now, if you know that your child can do, a rationalize, very mature, person, then it's probably okay. But it just depends, I think, on that person, that child. Some kids are I got nieces and nephews who are really, really brilliant and so smart and know things and have opportunities in high school that I never had. And they'll talk to me and be like, oh yeah, and this is just it. Totally strong and very wise and mature. If I had that with me, I'd be like, oh sure, okay. But if I know that this child's imagination is going to go run amok and then they're going to be terrified and it's going to be traumatic for them, I would never bring them.
Right, and I only ask that because you see that argument in a lot of different groups and a lot of different teams about what age is appropriate, and I would agree. I think it depends on the maturity level, because there's even 18-year-olds I wouldn't take on investigation because, well, no. They want to push the limits and they want to be risky about the investigation and taunting and being disrespectful to a spirit. I would agree. It depends on the knowledge of the child and the maturity level of how to handle an investigation versus the dangers involved.
Right. I mean, people ask me, "Oh, so you're bringing your daughter on to the Ireland trip?" And I'm like, "Oh, hell no, I'm not doing that." And they're like, "Oh, well, why?" Well, her birthday is October 5th, so they're like, "Oh, she'll be fine. She'll be 10." And I'm like, "Sorry, I don't agree with you." And they're like, "Oh, really? Well, you do all this, so you should be fine because of your situation growing up." But I'm like, no, because what if she's afraid? And then, like, I'm with everybody and I'm having fun, and then I have to go be, parent to my child, too, because she is afraid, so I can't go and I can't do it because my object, like, my goal is always first, I'm going to be with my kid, and take care of my kid. So I'm like, nah, I need to also be me, and I just don't think it's appropriate. So mommy's going to go have mommy ghost hunting fun. Mm-hmm. She can stay home with grandma and grandpa. So yeah, it's actually my husband and I, it's our anniversary during that time. So we'll have a great time.
Right.
It's like away from kids for a little while.
And as we're wrapping up, so what would you tell prospective writers that want to start writing? Do you have any advice to give prospective writers?
Yeah, actually, I'm actually even writing a seminar, doing like a session at Imaginarium this July 12th about that. So I believe in making a positive twist, like kind of spin on what you have experienced. So I wrote about my paranormal experience. Why can't anyone else? So I try to encourage people about that. Like, take whatever it is. I mean, I don't care what it is. It doesn't have to be paranormal. It could be about, you love biking. Well, write something about biking. You love gardening. Write something about gardening. So anything that you're passionate about, you can take and turn into your next writing project. Say it's a blog. Say it's a book. Or it's a poem. Or it's a short story. Mm-hmm. Who cares? Just, be creative and sit down and just be not afraid to be judged and be you. Have fun.
Outstanding. And what would you tell a prospective paranormal investigator?
I would say don't believe the TV and listen, get in a good group that you're comfortable with and tell them that, hey, this is like what I've experienced and this is what I know and what I want to learn from you. They'll be very eager to take you under their, their wing if they're good people and be a realistic guide to you and what they practice and they do. And I really believe that, my pet peeve is people believing everything's evil. So as soon as you get in a good group, they'll tell you that's bogus. And then they'll tell you how to do it,
You're in good company with that one.
Good, I'm glad, because it does. It's like my big pet peeve. It drives me insane.
So, we dealt with between 5 and 10 cases a day when we ran our emergency response team. And when you deal with that many cases in a year, maybe 2 of those were actually demonic. That's how rare true demonic cases actually are. Paranormal TV, everything's a demon. It drives me nuts. And there's certain shows out there that terrify kids because they tell these kids that they're possessed by demons, and demons are rare. Right. Now, again, malevolent entities that are non-demonic do occur, but they can be handled, and so can demons.
Well, you're right. Like, if a person is a bad person in life, they're going to be a bad person when they're a ghost because that's the same person. Like, I think that people have to remember they were people once, and that's how they need to be treated, like people. So I just treat them like the average, person.
Absolutely.
So, and they're bored. They want to talk to you. So, as long as you're respectful, there's no harm. Now, when you're disrespectful, then I think that, they're just usually, they'll just kind of shy away and they'll just stop talking to you, is what I experienced. If you're not nice.
Right. If you're disrespectful, you'll either, 1, piss them off and they'll retaliate, or 2, you won't get any action. No activity whatsoever.
They get you back in that aspect. Yeah.
So, is there any last things you want to say to the listeners?
Well, also, I mean, yeah, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed this, and I can talk forever about the paranormal for sure.
Right.
The 2095, yeah, it comes out like June 12th with 7-Star Press, and it's a real story that it took 4 years for me to write. And I made sure that every single thing in it was true. And the next story is really going to be fun. So if you are a police officer, you're going to love my book, because it's all about a female police officer who runs into a haunted experience and then brings it home with her. So people really love it. It is very scary on the scary side. But I try to incorporate everything in there for people who love even aliens to hauntings. So it's different for everybody. You'll like something and anybody will like, something in there.
Now, do you see a movie coming out of it?
I'm trying. I actually I met somebody who wants to possibly turn 2095 into a book. I really believe it's the next Exorcist for sure. But the other one is scarier. So I'm going to try for both and see what I get. Always try, shoot for the moon and see what you get back. That's what I say.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask, though. If they did turn 2095 into a movie, who would you want to play you?
Oh, yeah, that's I would say Nicole Kidman, but then you gotta go young, right? So the problem is the child grows. So it's like from age 10 to present day. So I'd say present day Nicole Kidman, I will be thrilled. I loved her I love her in anything, but especially the others. Yeah, I don't know, young child, I'm not sure, because I don't really know very many young child actors right now. So, but adult, definitely Nicole Kidman.
Do we get a part?
Yeah. Sure, if I can make things happen.
All right, we'll be poltergeists.
Yeah.
We'll audition for that one.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting experience, I guess, because the bad thing is you got to get an agent. But I do know a man who makes documentary films, and he knows several people who are producers, and they do movies and documentaries that are all paranormal based. Mm-hmm. So in Arkansas, so I have a lot of Arkansas hookups from going there on that trip. So it's definitely a meant to be trip. Yeah. And I also have a very interesting story, kind of an angel-like story, for you guys, but I don't know how much time you have.
Oh, you got time.
You got about 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's definitely enough time. Okay. Basically, so when I went to the Crescent Hotel, I was on my way to, we were going to Branson, Missouri, out of a spur-of-the-moment trip where I looked at the calendar and was like, hey, the kids have 4 days off school for absolutely no reason in the middle of February, so I can't stand the thought of our house with the cabin fever. Let's get in the car and go. And I've never done anything so spontaneous, but we packed our bags the next day we were gone. So we went to Branson. I just found a place that had a slide, an indoor pool for the kids, and planned to go to the Titanic Museum, and that's all I was planning to really do. So on the way there, I told my husband, because he goes, hey, we're only a few miles from the Arkansas state line. We've never driven that far before. And I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? I was like, look up the Crescent Hotel and see how far it is from where we are. And he usually does not listen to me, but he did in this moment, which was crazy. And then he's like, well, we're only an hour and 15 minutes away. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to go. So he looked it up and he saw that they do ghost tours. And I was like, I'm buying a ticket now. I'm dropping you off. And it was actually Valentine's Day. But we had already done our Valentine's dinner a few days before, so we already celebrated. And I was like, do you care? And he's like, no, I don't care. So I dropped him and the kids off at the hotel, and I drove an hour and 15 minutes through the boondock mountains, where I swear to God I was waiting for Bigfoot to jump out just because it was in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, I'm going to see some creature. It's like going to attack me and I'm alone. But I had my big SUV. So I was driving up this mountain and it got dark. And I pulled into the place, which is very treacherous kind of thing to get to. So I was very glad I had my SUV. I get in there and I talk the tour guide into letting me into the early tour so I can get back to my kids. Because it's like I have an hour and 15-minute drive. I got to get back to my kids. And I'm a writer. I drove from Ohio just to be here whimsically. And I want to write the story about the tour and the hotel and the staff and the spirits. And they threw me in, which was amazing, because the man named David, who was basically the ghost tour guide, he told me about Keith, and he hooked me up with Keith, who wrote the book and is the manager of the whole hotel's ghost tour and tourism. And I got the interview with him and talk with him. And that's all on my blog. That's what's coming up May 12th. But I sat next to this couple, and she looked at me, and I just kind of felt like a pull towards her. And throughout the whole tour, I got out my equipment, which the guy, David, said no one else has ever done that before. But I'm like, I'm here. I mean business. And I was doing, like, my EMF meter was going off the entire night. And he was looking at me and talking to me mostly about all this stuff because I was writing everything down. But on the tour, me and this woman, her name was Abby, really buddied up and made really good friends. It turned out like it was her birthday, and her husband took her there because he doesn't like the paranormal stuff, but she does, and this is what she wanted to do. And they were like 35 minutes away from their house, and this was a part of her birthday stuff. And I talked with them all night. I got pictures with them. I interviewed them. And then for the next 4 days, we did nothing but text each other, me and Ashley. And she sent me all these pictures. She got tons of pictures with major evidence. Great pictures. And even like EVPs and things. Mm-hmm. She got videos of a red like little orb behind my head that like goes into a like kind of like a spiral. It's very interesting. And then I got the flu. I got really, really, really sick on the 4th night. I texted her when I was feeling well and was talking to her. We had planned to go to probably 10 different places. She was going to drive to Ohio and go to all these things with me. And then I got a text from her mother 6 days later when I was still sick, getting over the flu. It was a really horrible flu. I thought I was going to die. And her mother told me she had a massive heart attack that last Tuesday night that I had just talked to her, and she died. She was only 47 years old. So it was crazy. And the whole time on the tour, I just was really drawn to her. Like, she had an angelic presence that I'm not a person who really makes friends like insanely fast or easy like that, because I'm usually so in my own paranormal world when I'm doing that and writing everything down. But we really hit it off, and then all of a sudden she was just gone. So it's an interesting story. I'm like, in my blog that I'm writing up about it, I'm going to dedicate it to her and her family, who've kept in touch with me this whole time. They've been so sweet and nice to me. So
I've got to ask you. You know, you've got great evidence, it sounds like. What does it take for the public to recognize the paranormal is real? And what kind of evidence does it take? We have so many teams that have great evidence. They have perfect photos. They have perfect EVPs, perfect, everything lines up just right. Yet, you still have debunkers that want to debunk everything. What does it take?
Yeah, like, I think that if you don't, until you have your own experience, you just don't believe if you're that kind of personality. You know, I met so many people who do believe because they're just interested in it and they're intrigued and never had an experience.
Right.
But there's people who are true sticklers. Until they have their first experience or see something and they want to give up their pride for a minute and admit that they saw something that they can't explain, it just won't happen. It's a shame. Because I think about that every day, given what I'm doing. And there's a lot of people who are like, well, that's scary to me. I can't read about that. Like I have a neighbor who, she's like, oh, well, you got to tell me what restaurant so I don't go there. But I'm like, but that's not the point. The point is that you learn something from the past.
Right.
And I'm a person who believes that history repeats itself. I mean, look at all the wars that are like we've all lived through in our country and everything. Like everything happens for a reason. So I think that these people are part of you learning. So I try to educate her that way. Like, hey, look, you can read this. It's entertaining for you, plus you're learning. Because I know that she loves to read and she loves history. So like, if you think about it that way, you can take what you want from it, and then you can leave behind the other stuff.
Now, growing up in the paranormal, was there any time in your life where you were just like, you know what, I'm just gonna push this out of the way, or has it always been a focus of yours?
Oh, I think that, I definitely didn't want to ever think about it. To tell you the truth, when I was young, I was so angry at what I was living with that I didn't treat the situation well, where I was ignoring it all the time because I was told to ignore what I was saying from my mother, that it wasn't true. So, and I was, treated like I was crazy a lot. So, we were Catholics, so we didn't say those things. That's for Halloween, is what she said. But it's like, I think because of that, the shunning of that, I turned angry whenever anything happened, that I would just get enraged with anger instead. And then I carried that to my second house, and I'm like, none of this has helped me, which is why I started writing a book for therapeutic kind of reasons, and then everything changed. There is a reason for this. You go through this for this reason, and this is why I live through it. Other people who don't figure out maybe what the reason is, I kind of feel bad for them because, I mean, thank God I did figure out the reason. I can't imagine not figuring out why it happened. Like with Ashley, that really hurts me because I don't understand that, but someday maybe I will. So I look at it now like that instead of being angry anymore. And now I turn to embrace it because I think that God has given me, this gift of wanting to go in for this positive thing instead of wanting to go in for a negative thing or just a thrill.
All right.
Hopefully I answered that.
Oh, no. So, thank you for coming on the show, Rosella. It was a great show.
Most
great
definitely.
having you. Huh?
Thank
Most
you.
definitely.
Thanks so much. Well, I'd love to come back anytime, so.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
for sure. Maybe we'll have you on for a round table. That would be fun.
So,
Oh, that would be fun. I listened to roundtables and I loved it.
So next week, actually, if you want to come on, is Roundtable, the 17th.
Oh, okay, I thought it might be, yeah. I can.
All right, so we'll have you on the Roundtable if you're available.
Sure.
So the 23rd is our Memorial Day show.
Who do we got joining her?
I'm working on.
Didn't we have Barry?
Yes, for Roundtable,
yeah.
yes. We have Barry coming on. We have Mike Crow coming on.
That's right.
We have Francie coming on. And we have Joe coming on.
That's going to be one heck of a show.
And now Rosella.
Most definitely.
So the 23rd, we have a Memorial Day show. And I'm working on getting some veteran paranormal investigators to talk paranormal in the military. And
So
then,
if you're a veteran, if you're in the paranormal, contact Eric Cooper on Facebook.
Absolutely. And then,
Knock
the,
on his door. He'll
and
answer.
then the 31st, we have Dr. Simeon Hines coming on
Yeah.
to talk
Yes.
crop circles and the alien connection, cryptids and UFOs.
Absolutely, and don't forget, people, for the month of May giveaways, we will be giving away S4 swag bags every week in the third hour. Contact us at s4radiowinner@gmail.com for your chance to win. Heck, I got through that one good.
You did. You did.
Everything.
Also, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Rosella again, and you can reach her on Facebook, Twitter, and at her website, myhauntedtravelblog.blogspot.com.
And look
Thank
for, you can go on the S4 website also and find out more information on the tour, the Haunted Ireland tours.
Absolutely.
So, have a safe
Great.
week, folks. Stay safe out there. Stay isolated still. And keep your eyes to the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.